Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. Really excited for this show with my boy Kyle, and it's going to be a great one. So before we get into that, let's hear from the sponsors. My guys over at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets have been dropping new colorways and designs like clockwork. From the limited edition Pony Boy and to my personal favorite, the Crypsis, which is a woodland camo Ghost Bandit, along with the matte Stealth Gray Mod Bandit, and of course the Speed Bandit, which is an affordable option that doesn't sacrifice the style or quality Simpson is known to deliver. Head on over to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com to check out the models, finishes, and visor options, and also give my guys a follow on Instagram at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Lexin is my go-to for not only my Bluetooth system, the FT4 Pro on my helmets, but now my wireless charging solution on the road as well, with their WPC QI wireless charger. This is a water-resistant wireless charger for the Ram Mount X Grip phone holder. This easy-to-set-up system uses a battery Tinder-style plug for easy install and will only set you back $64.95 with a 2-year unlimited warranty. You can also grab yourself a Lexin WPC and Ram X mount kit from Lexin-Moto for $110. And check out, drop that Fast Life offer code to save yourself 15%. And don't forget to give Lexin and the team a follow on Instagram at Lexin-Moto. I recently switched all my lighting on my Road Glide to Electric Lighting Co. I'm a huge fan of the looks and the improved visibility I get from the shark tooth headlight. And I'm digging the 5-year warranty on the 15 different LED headlight options for your motorcycle. Their deluxe and premium LED turn signals offer 530 lumens of bright white running light, which are the brightest in the industry, and backed by a lifetime warranty. And last but not least, the LED tail lamps come in a wide range of designs to add that finishing touch, and all products are plug and play. NAM's custom cycle products since 1999 have been offering American-made wiring products for all things V-twin, and Badlands for over 30 years have been offering the most reliable and dependable lighting modules in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty. Find out more about these great companies at namscustomcycleproducts.com. Thundermax and their ECM computers are designed to provide your EFI-equipped Harley-Davidson with the most advanced auto-tuning available. A Thundermax ECM eliminates tuning hassles when upgrading your exhaust or air cleaner, or when adding a cam or big bore kit, by simply allowing you, the user, the ability to simply download a base map and let the computer do the rest. Also, a hot item is their iRide rear suspension, which is a performance air ride rear suspension, giving you the ability to adjust many aspects from the handlebar mounted touchscreen. This rear suspension is the best of both worlds. Check out these products at shoptmax.com and use offer code FASTLIFE at checkout to save yourself 10% off. And follow Thundermax EFI on Instagram. John Jessup's Team Dream Rides out of Stockton, California is a one-stop shop for you to have your motorcycle customized, maintained, repaired, and upgraded with in-house dyno tuning and parts and accessories. Also, check out teamdreamrides.com online store to see the full array of products for your bike and you as a rider. And if you're short on cash, you can take advantage on the 100 days same as cash financing on teamdreamrides.com. All you need is a job and a bank account. And while you're at it, give the team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. Paint Huffer Metal Flake has been with our podcast since day one, and I have been using their flakes and pearls in my paint work for over 4 years now. And you can get started down this custom paint path with many must-have items for the custom paint process at painthuffer.com. And you can save yourself some coin by using the FASTLIFE20 offer code at checkout. And last but not least, you can get some inspiration by checking out all the amazing work created with the Paint Huffer products at Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Got a great show. My buddy Kyle goes by Insta Havin Kyle on Instagram, and you'll find out why in this podcast. He's a rad dude who's been building badass trucks and cars and bikes for quite some time. just kind of crazy that he kind of fell into the custom, or more accurately, wow, I can't talk today. The performance baggers kind of scene. And he's created what I believe to be is one of the first completely done up badass custom performance baggers. And he's real thorough, and I'm very excited. And if you listen to early podcasts, I was always kind of waiting for this type of thing to take place in our scene to kind of start putting it on the next level. And I think Kyle definitely did that with this build, and has done that his entire life with other builds. So anyway, it was a really great time talking with him, and he allowed me to stay at his house with his family, and very appreciative of that, my man. And yeah, it was a good time, and I'm glad that you're going to hear this. So here it is, my buddy Kyle. Let's do it.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
I feel like it works for me pretty well. You know, like just get a couple drops of ice, a little glass of whiskey. The first couple sips are kind of strong, but then it smooths out a little bit, and I can just fucking drink it.
Yeah, you got to water it down a little bit.
Well, you know,
Let the ice melt.
A little ice in there, a little ice melt, and then a little, you know, little fully cooked steak. Go with it. You know, makes it really delicious.
You're the only man I've ever met that eats steak that way.
I mean, you know what? Since I've been working on it, but I feel like so many people have come out of the woodwork and they're proud of me to speak up for the well done crowd, because they don't have it's unmanly, and nobody wants to be the dude to say I like steak cooked more
for sure.
Yeah, like I don't like anything past medium, or even medium is sometimes like you get fucking nerds out there like, dude, you know, you're just ruining that steak and blah blah blah. And it's like I still to this day, like we were in Steamboat Springs. We went to this place where you get really nice cuts of meat and you cook it yourself. And I cooked it like the cook said, like medium or just under medium rare, I guess. It was delicious. But it was a fucking $50 steak that I had to cook myself. Applebee's doesn't have that. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, you really want them to go ahead and cook it thoroughly so that whatever it's been sitting under for the last month gets cooked out of it. You know what I mean?
What kind of sauce do you dip it in?
Definitely A1 sauce.
A1?
Yeah.
So anytime I go to Texas Roadhouse, I always order either medium rare or medium, but I always get steak fries.
Yeah.
And I have the waitress bring Heinz 57. And every time I ask you know, hey, you guys need anything else before I let you eat? And I say Heinz 57, and every time I do it, they look at me like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Well, I don't get that either.
But I dip my steak fries in it. I don't use it for the steak. So that's the kicker. So
what I feel like unless you want to buy me the steak, you can fuck all the way off. If someone bought me a steak and said, look, I'll buy you a steak, but you have to eat it the way I eat it and blah, 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 then okay, I'll try it. But if I'm going to use my hard-earned money, I'm going to eat it the way I fucking like it. You know what I'm saying?
Wouldn't it be more beneficial to just have a hamburger? Save money? Like, that's the way I'm looking at it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, get a $10 hamburger instead of a $30, $40 steak. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I like the... I don't know why people feel so empowered to give a fuck.
About the steak?
About the steak.
I think that's the red-blooded American thing. It's like you better like baseball as well.
Fuck baseball.
And
especially St. Louis, because they beat us in the World Series.
Yeah, I don't.
It was a very sad day.
I've really never liked sports besides skateboarding, but when I moved here, I started watching hockey. I watched the Blues, and it's hard when you live in a place that doesn't have any pro sports anywhere.
Yeah.
You learn to love whatever the state next to you has to offer, right? So we always watched the Vikings and the Twins, but when I moved here, it's like 10 miles away from the stadium, so it's like you feel that pride.
Yeah.
But I tried a Cardinals game. It was too boring for me. But you go to a hockey game and you're like, I don't really like hockey. But once you go watch it, you feel the energy in the crowd. It's so like contained and small, and you just feel it. I don't know what it is about it. But my whole family fell in love with it. And we are not sports people at all.
Yeah.
So it's really, really strange because then you're like, how far do I take this? Do I really get into the stats?
Do you buy a jersey?
Right. That's a weird subject for me.
I get weird. So I'm out of Dallas, right? Mm-hmm. And when the Mavericks went and won the basketball, the finals, I think it was 2011. That was very, very fun to watch that. You know what I mean? And to go and watch the whole thing. Loved it. But I don't like getting involved in sports because I don't like the fact that if my team loses or whatever, then it affects the way I feel.
True.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's the same thing. When UFC first started getting real popular and the fighters were like Rashad Evans and these guys from like the early Ultimate Fighter stuff. I was so into it. Every time BJ Penn would go fight, I'm like, he's my favorite fighter. I don't know why I picked him. It's just that's the dude. It became my favorite fighter. That's how stupid it used to be. And then you'd go watch him get his ass kicked every night, and I'd literally be driving home from Buffalo or wherever we watched it, pissed. Like, fuck, man. Why did I waste my time on that loser? And it's like, I have no stake in the game. Like, why do I give a fuck? You know what I mean?
To answer your question, no, I have not bought a jersey. They're too like, I don't want to sound like a bandwagon fan, but I have one Blues t-shirt. Mm-hmm. So when I do get to go to a game, I at least got one shirt to fit in. Okay. Don't get it twisted. I didn't pay for it. It was given to me. I'm not trying to invest anything into the Blues. Yeah. But since I've lived here, the Blues have won their first Stanley Cup ever.
They won last year, right?
Yeah. And the Cardinals have won a World Series. And it's pretty dope hearing the fireworks and the gunshots go off. Like, you feel that sense of pride, Yeah, it's like, oh man, I can't believe they won, even though I don't really care about this, but it does make you kind of proud.
It wraps you into it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's weird over here because I'm in Illinois instead of St. Louis, so there's that.
I wanted to ask you about that. This is one of a couple cities in America that's literally like the middle of the city is in one state, and the other half is in another state.
Yep. It's strange.
At least here you have a huge ass river in between it.
It's true. It's very easy to tell the difference between the two. But what happens is when you travel, you're talking to people and they ask you where you're from. Well, I'm not trying to get into the fact that I live in Swansea, Illinois. It's just a lot more, and especially when you live in Swansea, Illinois, which is where I live. It is Illinois. That instantly turns on the Chicago light for people. And I don't like Chicago, right? Like, Chicago is not a good place. I'm not a fan. So I would rather rep St. Louis, even though it's kind of a shithole at the same time. Yeah. It's just easier to say, oh, I live in St. Louis, because I do live 15 minutes from downtown.
Same thing with me. I live in Dallas, but I'm 30 miles south of Dallas.
Right. So and I've brought that up with my buddy Larry from Lone Star Choppers. Anytime I talk about Jason, Dallas, he'll stop me dead in my tracks. That motherfucker lives in Waxahachie. Yeah. And I'm like, it's the same thing, Larry. No, it's not. I've been there, and it's not Dallas. And he's like, you can't rep Dallas. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah. So, but
there's levels to it. You go from like, if you're in local, your conversation is local. Yeah, I live in Waxahachie. If it goes like nationwide, I live in Dallas. If it goes worldwide, I live in Texas.
So what happens? And what happens is when I go to bike rallies to work, people, that's the first thing you say. Oh, where are y'all from? I'm in St. Louis, and their first response, oh, so am I. Of course you are. Yeah. All right. Lay it on me. Where do you live? Oh, well, we're on the Illinois side. We're in Edwardsville. Oh, okay. Well, I live in Swansea. It's literally 15 minutes away. So it's the same thing as repping St. Louis City as it is Edwardsville, Illinois, because it's the same amount of time. So they're like, oh, man, what a small world. And I'm like, man, this is not a small world. I have this conversation every time I'm at a rally because I meet someone, never seen them, never heard of them, and I meet them 1,000 miles away from home, and we live 10 minutes away from each other. So it happens every time.
Dude, we were in camping. I don't even think we talked about this on this last podcast. We were camping in Yellowstone. Yellowstone. Directly across from us. And mind you, you don't just camp in Yellowstone. You got to book that shit in advance because it's a big national park. across from us is another group of bikers from Dallas.
Yeah, that's weird.
At the campground across from us. They were Hell Yeah Brothers for sure. They all had apes, and they looked at us like we were kind of like the deviants. But
did you mention the Fast Life Garage to them?
No, I don't.
They wouldn't have known, right?
For sure, no. Yeah. I mean, maybe one of them might, but the same thing. Like when we're out in a gas station and somebody walks up and goes, "Man, who painted these bikes?" I immediately point at one of my friends every time.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
I don't want to answer. I don't want to paint your fucking Cadillac,
right,
or whatever the hell you got that you're thinking about working on. Like it doesn't,
100. Yeah, totally agree with that.
It's a small world in a sense, but really not. It just happens that we're going to fun things that everybody in the world goes to. So it's,
Right. But that is weird think about the people that go to Yellowstone. They got to be from all over the world.
For sure.
Maybe not right now because
it was COVID, Sturgis, though. It was like the Ascent of Sturgis.
Okay, so you might have some bikers anyways.
Yeah, most people that do Sturgis do Yellowstone.
Sure.
It's like, it's only a day's ride, so.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Still weird, though. I mean,
now,
far.
I got some cool pictures that I use a lot of me and my FXR at Monument Valley. This photographer we ran into that was on a trip I had him on the podcast a long time ago, one of the first couple. He was from Dallas, but we ran into him at Monument Valley at the campground. He was there taking pictures. And he's like, "Hey, can I take a picture of you guys?" And we're like, "Yeah, cool." Takes it and then, says, "Hey, man, what's y'all's email? I'll send you the pictures once I get them, processed." And then come to find out the dude's from fucking Plano, which is like 20 miles north of Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then, it's just kind of, it's weird. You know what I'm saying? That was weird.
Have you kept in touch with the guy?
Yeah. His name was Steve Hager or something like that. I had him on the podcast. It was the only guy that I've ever had on that literally had nothing to do with motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
Ever.
Interesting.
But, I wanted to have him on because of the photography aspect. And this was like...
Must have been a long time ago.
Yeah, it was like one of the first 15 or 20 podcasts I ever did. You know what I mean? So it wasn't necessarily a super interesting one, you know what I mean? But like at that time I was trying to fill out like where I could go with it.
Sure.
Because I don't want to be landlocked to just like this narrow conversation space. Like you want to be able to open up to things, but you got to do it in a way that it's interesting to your listeners.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%. It's the same. It was like when you did John Jackson, interviewed John Jackson.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything to do with motorcycles.
Yeah.
But he knows everybody. He's been around forever. And I knew John Jackson before he did photography.
He was a fucking mini trucker.
He was in acrophobia. And instead of a mini trucker, he actually had a 19... Don't get mad at me, but like a 90? No. We're going way back.
Way back, okay.
This is like a 1991 Ford Thunderbird.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, dog, with air ride. And I want to say it was maybe orange. But anyways, his username on this is before Facebook even. But
so it was on the forums.
Yeah, it was on Street Source magazine. And his name was Acro Chicken, because he was in acrophobia and everybody called him Chicken. And then he started pushing the photography thing at the truck shows. And he was selling banners and prints, and they were just bitching cars and trucks, and people were buying them. And ever since then, man, he started not stock photo. And he bought his Corvair van and started traveling the country in it. So I've known John for a very long time. And that was one of the best podcasts I listened to. It might have been because I know him so well, but it's also a really cool perspective because he wasn't talking about bikes the whole time. Yeah. But he knows about the stuff. He knows the builders. He knows what's cool. He knows what looks cool.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's the thing is like I want to be able to bring a lot of different aspects because, to keep this thing interesting and whatnot. But, as far as like you though, like I said, fucking North Dakota transplant to here, how do you, for those of you listening, like so how does Sever Ties work? You're still a part of it, or is it like for life? Vatos Locos for life? Yeah.
Vatos Locos. It's kind of a weird gray area.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of a life thing. It's more of a mentality thing, I would say. There are members that have been around even longer, a lot longer than I have even. Yeah. And I'm going on a minimum of 15 years. I'm probably like 16, 17 years in right now. And there's dudes that have been around since the beginning. And it's even some of the older guys, life catches up, things change. You have kids, the jobs keep you more busy. So you can't build a car and you can't travel as much. And people generally understand that.
Yeah.
So there is kind of a gray area where people do fall out, I would say.
Yeah.
But very rarely do you get a guy that officially drops out or quits per se. Because what's happened with the truck and car thing is it's kind of like what you talk about, growing this network of people in the bike industry. It's a comforting feeling knowing that you can go to any state, make one phone call or send one text, and you got a couch to sleep on. Even if it's a shitty couch, you know you got a roof over your head. I can do the same thing with my truck club.
Yeah.
Truck club / car club. So, and then on top of that, it is identical to that mindset. So you create a brotherhood of, I have some of the best friends on the planet that they will be my best friends till the day I die. And they are in that club. And a lot of them don't do anything with motorcycles. They don't question what I do. If they do, they're just interested in it.
Yeah.
But they don't give me this, like, what the fuck, man? I always tend to have a pretty bitchin' car around because it's in my blood. But the bikes have consumed me, and I don't go to as many shows as I used to.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad at times, but when I am feeling bad about it, I question why. And it's always because of the people. That's it. It's like, oh man, I love to go see blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen them in a year or two. And so it really always boils down to the people.
That's a good point, man. It is the people.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and we've noticed it with the bike scene too. You find the right crowd, it's really all about people. It's the relationships you build.
Yeah, the thing about it too is that you got to kind of strike the iron while it's hot too, right? So when everybody's like right now with performance baggers, it's something that like me, we've been talking about like kind of like, I guess you dubbed it kind of like the godfathers of the performance bagger thing.
I mean, I didn't really mean that. But if you go back, I'm not saying like the people that created it, but if you look at the people that really pushed it, really stood out, were genuine, answered the questions, weren't assholes about it, and the guys that are just doing something a little bit different, they tend to stand out.
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens to be our circle of friends, and we flock to each other. Yeah, there's that tribalism thing that you always talk about.
So what I think about it is, right now we're all into this thing. We're into what we're doing on these things as well, as far as riding them and hanging out in different areas and shit. And without bringing politics basically into it, not like government politics, but politics of clubs and associations and things. I try to get people just like, look, man, like, right now, you got a rare thing that doesn't last forever, where everybody's on the same page and down to do the same shit. So take every opportunity to do this, because in a couple years, somebody might, oh man, that was run, but now I'm kind of here mentally or whatever, and things kind of drift apart. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely, I would say this is what I've noticed with bike trends and styles of bikes. This is the one that will keep people sticking together with each other. Because at the end of the day, everybody the whole point of what we're doing is it can be as pretty of a bike as you want it to be, or as stock of a bike as you want it to be. The whole point is riding it. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, is we want to ride. And even if we're new with it, we want to continue. It's all about that next trip. And it's all about, meeting new people, going places. It's an exciting thing to do. So I feel like when you have the certain type of bike where you are going to continue to ride, never forget, continue to actually ride it. I think that is what separates our kind of little clique that we got versus any other type of guy riding a motorcycle. I don't even want to use the term biker, because it's a weird one for me. I'm not a biker. I don't ever want to be a biker. Truly, I'm a gearhead. I'm a car guy. I'm a bike guy, but I will never claim to be a biker. Never. I will always have my style, paint jobs, clothing, fucking whatever. I am me. I am not going to change my visuals to look
like the
apart.
Yeah.
My dad is a biker, 100%. He started riding. Well, he rode like kind of most of his life, but really got heavy into it around 40. He became sober after many years of alcohol abuse and started riding motorcycles. And I kind of like to say that motorcycles saved his life.
Yeah.
He found a club called the Dry Riders, and they are a club that preaches, hell yeah, brother, no alcohol. They didn't preach like Jesus or religion. It was all about a group of alcoholics that need each other to not drink. They need a reason to stay sober. So they travel together, they camp together, and that's where he really got started.
Yeah.
And so without going into this long story, he's been a biker for a long time. He's getting up there. He's closer to 70 now, so he doesn't ride as much. But he's got like 30 leather jackets. He's got like 10 pairs of chaps.
Yeah.
High dollar. I'm talking like the best Harley leather you could buy.
Yeah.
We're talking thousands of dollars. And every time I'm at his house, hey man, let me send you home with a jacket. No, I'm straight. I don't need your jacket, you know? And that's part of what I'm getting at. It's like we all have such an individual take on what this is. Like you and your red Vans. That makes a hell of a statement.
Yeah.
That's not a biker thing to do. That's like bikers look at you and like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he wearing clown shoes? You know?
Yeah.
That's probably what they say. Same with me. I may have a lot of tattoos and look the biker part, but I'll be the first dude that's wearing a skateboarding shirt or whatever. You know, that's what I like about this is we are ourselves. We're not trying to be somebody that we're not, like what most bikers are.
I feel like the one thing that I changed about my look, so, you know, growing up, as you well know, when you work on things or paint body, Dickies become standard issue.
That box right there?
Yeah.
Full of Dickie pants.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of them because I got a little bit fat. So holler at your boy.
Yeah.
Size 34.
So Dickies, you know, become like standard issue for just about everything.
It's the only thing I wear.
Yeah.
I have one pair of blue jeans in the last 20 years. One pair of jeans. That's it.
I grew up with the Dickies, but my shoes of choice was always like, as a kid, it was Jordans, and then it went from Jordans to like Air Maxes, right? Mm-hmm. But I got a shoe problem, man, because like I'm one of those dudes, like if I'm bored, I'll go buy Champs or Foot Locker and see what colors are out. You know, and next thing you know, I get in there and there's like 3 shoes with the colors I want. And I'm like, I'm a fucking adult. I'm buying all 3 of these.
Bro.
$450 later, I'm like wearing 3 shoes and fucking them up. And then so like my wife, you know, being from California, when she first moved here, she wore Vans, you know, and I was like, man, I'm not doing that. And then the Dyna thing happened. And then everybody was wearing, Vans in the Dyna culture, right?
Right.
And then my wife's wearing them. And so one day she picked me up a pair. And I was like, yeah, fuck with it. And then I went and bought a pair once for myself. And I was like, man, I like those red ones and I like those blue ones. I'm like, oh shit, I can buy all of them for $100 for what I paid for one pair of Air Maxes.
Right. Yep.
So now it's like I just like I've literally bought the shoes I have on now, the low top ones, the black standard issue Vans, the lace up ones. I've probably had 3 pair and I wear them on a trip. They get fucked up and they turn into shop shoes.
Right.
You know,
unlimited shop shoes.
Exactly.
And same with the clothing. You know, having all black T-shirts. Fuck my
especially
closet.
As a painter.
Yeah. Dude, my closet's got. Man, I got the best T-shirts, but I never get to wear them. I got shirts that are 15 years old, 10 years old, that I've worn twice because all I do is work.
Yeah.
So I never get a chance to wear good clothing.
And you don't want to wear them and fuck them up too.
Right. And then so for the same token with the shoes, I mean, we might have already been best friends, but if not, we just did become best friends. I have a shoe thing too, just like you do. I find pairs of Vans under my dresser that I forgot I owned, bro, because I like the way a brand new pair of Vans makes me feel. Yeah. And so when I ride, I usually wear boots, almost always. but sometimes I'll wear shoes, and if I do, it's just a pair of Vans. I have one pair of Vans dedicated to the motorcycle, and the fucking left one's got a hole in it from the shift peg, and the right one has part of a fucking heel melted off of it because of my pipe and my MIG controls. So I know they're gonna stay shitty in the motors because of the motorcycle, so they're motorcycle shoes. And then I got one pair that are my skateboarding shoes. Those only come out when I skateboard. So there ain't nothing wrong with that. So we're comfortable with our sexuality. You know?
Well, I've always told people that, like, I have no problem like saying, like, you know, I would, you know, I saw a dude wearing that getup and that shit looked dope to me and I wanted to buy it. So when Justin, my machinist, came to the second camp out we did, I think it was Fast Life 2, he had on all red Vans, and I've always loved his bike. I wish that I wasn't a painter so I could just have a solid color bike like that, because I love just a gray. It's my shit.
I mean, the purple though.
The purple pops it though.
It's all about the purple. It
is.
Yes.
So when he pulled up on those bright ass red Vans and just the color of the bike, I wouldn't say I fucking man crushed on him. But I definitely
sounds that way.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to sound gay.
It's okay.
So, but no, I just like, fuck, that looks dope. And, you know, me and Justin became pretty close friends over the last 2 years or a year and a half or so. And, you know, as soon as I saw that, I wanted them. So I tried to go find them. And at the time, you couldn't find any. They weren't selling them at. Those are like standard issue shoes for like Journeys, like the Journeys shoe store.
Yep.
And so if Journeys doesn't have them, they don't sell them at van stores. So I ended up having to eBay those fuckers.
Oh yeah.
And find some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might have saved yourself $5 too.
Yeah. Well, kind of. But, you know, I wore those on the Cali trip last year and just completely ruined those shoes on that trip. You know what I mean? But, man, the red, my left foot was just black from the mid-control, you know, like shifting and everything. And I think I gave them to my little brother. And then Journey started carrying those red shoes again. So I bought another pair. And then I got a pretty nasty shoe collection right now at Vans. I'll probably have to, like, do a little picture of it for this podcast. Or like to post after we release this shit.
I could do the same thing. Have you had a pair made by Vans?
I wanted to, because when I couldn't get the red
ones. Get out my level, son.
I haven't yet. I wanted to have some because I wanted those red ones, but the options weren't. So when I first got into Vans, I only wanted slip-ons. That's the only ones I liked. I just was still resenting getting the lace-up ones like I'm wearing now. And then over time, I wore a pair. I was like, God, these are comfortable. I was like, so I bought a pair, and then now I'm like, I like these better than slip-ons now. So I, you know, but I used to, you know, the reason why I never wore them is because I didn't understand tapered jeans was a thing.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, because I wore Dickies forever, and I just whatever Walmart had. Yeah. You know, I never like thought about the fact, you know, because I'm like a 40 waist, right? So if 40 waist regular, like it's swallowing shoes when you walk around, like.
True. Especially if you're wearing like a double knee work pant.
Yeah, exactly.
Ones. Yeah, that does tend to look stupid. I've never heard of the tapered pants. I think that's super metrosexual. But
that's the only way I've been able to like wear Vans and Converse and stuff without it.
Well, kind of like the whiskey that we're drinking. I'm trying to be a little more refined.
Okay.
Distinguished.
Okay.
Because of Daniel. Again, Daniel has turned me. Yeah, Daniel has made me a lot more distinguished. I appreciate the finer things in life.
Yeah.
So I have officially that box of Dickies over there is all double knee work pants. I finally got to the age of 35. But I got kids. I got a 13-year-old. He's almost 14. So I feel much older than 35. I feel like I need to start presenting myself maybe a little bit more like a dad. Now, I'm not talking New Balance. I'm not talking jorts, okay? But I officially made the switch from double knee work pants to 874 work pants. They're a little bit tighter. They're not like skinny jeans by any means. They're a little bit tighter.
They're manicured.
They're a little bit more professional looking. Yeah. And I can wear those to work, and I can wear them anywhere else and feel comfortable. And so
I like how we're having a bike podcast about clothes.
Yeah, and same with the shoes. Like my Vans, I fuck with the gold eyelet Vans because it's got just that little touch of class that I personally do not possess. It probably makes me a little bit
better,
classier.
Yeah.
And so directly related to the shoe thing is fashion, and I really think that's related to the bikes too, man. Mustard is super hot right now.
It is.
As you know, and that's why I painted my bike mustard.
Yours is like legit mustard, and I think I got Grey Poupon.
Yeah. Well,
yours is maybe a little more traditionally Grey Poupon, but mine's a dirty fucking mustard.
yeah, but you got that metallic. That changes. It keeps it a lot more trick, as the dads would say.
Trick.
Bro, straight up, I had when the Milwaukee 8s came out, I seen a Softail Slim, brand new one, at the dealer it was a demo ride bike, and it was mustard yellow, flat clear. And I'm like, man, that fucking thing is so ugly, but holy fuck do I like this. It's so refreshingly different.
Yeah.
Man, they are not going to sell those bikes. So since then, I've just kind of loved that color. And I've probably worked like fucking 10 rallies since then. And, bro, I see every color bike that's ever been made, especially Harleys. And we have seen maybe 2 of those color bikes at all these rallies. And I'm talking heavy hitter rallies, Sturgis, Daytona, Myrtle Beach, all the big ones. And I've seen like 2 of them. Damn. And we've only pinstriped one of them. And as soon as it was in the booth and I spent a little bit of quality time with it, I was like, man, I'm definitely painting a bike this color. I hate yellow.
I do too.
I fucking hate it.
I like the... Okay, go ahead.
There was something about it that like I want to continue to push myself. And I'm like, okay, my goal here is I want to pick a color that does not belong on a Harley, first off, or a performance style Harley, second off. But I want to try and get people to realize, as long as you have a talent, you can pull it off, whether you hate the color or not. And my main goal was to get dudes like you, were a huge part of it, Jason from NSD, a couple other painters that I'm really good friends with. My main goal was to get them to say, God damn, you guys killed it. I love that color. Because they all started by saying, you have lost your damn mind choosing that color. So I'm super proud. I'm super proud of being able to pull that off.
It's so funny how we accept gold.
Right.
Gold's the shit. Everybody wants gold. Gold everything. Gold out my bike. But then there's just this like slight little hue change to make it yellow, and then everybody fucking loses their shit.
That's the difference with this mustard color I got. No metallic. I'm all about that drab life. No metallic, no pearl.
Yeah.
I feel like when you use a solid pigment like that, it allows the tins, the body, and being a body man, I feel like it allows the body to speak for itself. Yeah. You don't need the pearl, you don't need the metallic to make it stand out. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but mission accomplished, because that thing turned out way better than I could have ever expected it to for flying by the seat of our pants.
So my acceptance of yellow, I've been trying to work it into my color palette that I use a lot. I like it for like pinstripes, you know? Right.
We did a spray out. We did a spray out for this bike, and I showed you it, and you were like, man, you need some beveled edges, you need some contrast. And I was like, you know what, Jace is right. I do need some contrast. Let's do purple. Yeah. Hell yeah, that's what Jace would do. So we did a little bit of purple and striping, and it was too, it was already too much of a bold statement using mustard that I didn't feel like I could pull off the purple with it. Yeah. So we used a lemon yellow from House of Color, and it was so ugly compared to the mustard that it made me like the mustard even more. Yeah. And I'll have to send you a photo of it. I have the spray out, and looks just like the paint job on the bike. Few changes, but some of it is outlined with a lemon yellow, or like a chrome yellow, right? Yeah. And it looks really bad. It's not good.
So what I've done with like the yellow pinstripe that I have on my bike is I took a chrome yellow, added like a drop of red into it to start pushing it towards like not so much orange, but maybe school bus yellow, which I've always said is orange, personally, the way I look at it.
Fair enough. It's kind of mustard, but yeah.
So I like that a lot. And then lemon yellow just works in certain things, but yeah, it's nice. Like this bike, man, like I wanted to pick a color, like you said, I wanted to find something that was different And when you look at, like, say if you open the House of Color book and you see like the traditional one, not that new bullshit they got, but the old school one where you have like UK apple red, and then you have every combination of what, you know, the base color is that changes the color.
Right.
It's really hard to get an understanding of how dope some of these colors are when you're looking at a
tiny little chip,
a 1 inch by 3/4 inch chip. And so when I so that is just candy gold, the same candy gold that like I put over my FXR back
like
in the
a
day.
pagan gold
over charcoal gray, and it makes it that kind of brownish.
It's like a washed out brown, but still gold.
Exactly. So I just wanted to try something new and try to work, because I'm the worst. Like, I have a real comfort zone with colors that I know that I personally will deal with, and I always fall back to the oranges and the golds, you know. So
and grays,
right? Same thing. So it's like I wanted to try something different with this. And
did it feel good to do something out of the comfort zone, out of the?
Yeah, I mean,
because it stands out.
I also this year I've been really trying to perfect gold leaf.
Okay.
Gold leaf and silver leaf are two different. They're the same process, but for some reason, silver leaf is very, very easy for me, and gold leaf has been a nightmare for me. It'd always be hit or miss if it came out right. So when me and my wife were in Cali in January, you know, when I'm there, I always go see my buddy Gerald at Valley Customs, and he's a fucking master leafer. So I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I was like, man, I'll pay you.
It's probably the size.
No, it was. I'll get to that. I said, I'll pay you. I just want to see you do a gold leaf piece, right? And so he did it, and he's like, you don't have to pay me. I'll show you, blah, blah, blah. So he helped me out, and then I just realized that, man, I'm scared of it, so I don't do it that much. But if I just would go home and start doing it a lot, it'll start to click. And the process is the same, but for some, like, he showed me this, and this was a game changer. It's like, once you put the leaf down, you have all that loose leaf everywhere. Gold has a tendency to lay on itself and stay.
Yep.
So he's like, get a cotton ball and use the cotton ball to kind of rub everything off, and it kind of polishes the gold leaf. And then you can come in and spin it, and you have, you know, less tears, less burn throughs.
Did you go over the overlaps as well and all that? It has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
it really does. I don't really do gold leaf, but I've watched Springle do it numerous times, thousands of times, and I've tried it. It's really not that difficult. It's like that secret code.
It is. Yeah.
And you have to earn that shit. Just like I've heard you talk about that numerous times. You definitely got to earn that shit. I am not going to spend hundreds of hours perfecting this craft just to tell you the answer. Get off your ass and learn how to do it.
The game's to be sold, not told, brother.
Right, and gold leaf is the same way. So it's the same thing with spinning it.
Yeah.
And that's why I mentioned the size, because we had the same problem with trying to get perfect spins. It turns out we were just using the wrong size this whole time. You need a better size.
I found out that, like...
and the type of leaf, imitation versus real.
So with the sandpaper spinning, which is what I do, it works better with imitation leaf. And if you go to real leaf, like real gold leaf, then you use the velvet, and you get a much...
You spin it with like 3,000 or 5,000?
8,000 right now.
Yeah.
They got 8,000 now.
Right.
And so it allows me a little bit more of a grace of fucking it up, right?
Sure.
But no, it's one of those things, man. Like the way I do leaf is exactly how I was taught and learned how to do it in 2005. But it took 10 years of fucking with it. You know, not every day, but if it was every day, it'd been way quicker. But it took that long for it to just work.
It's the feeling comfortable with it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like the same for me for cutting and welding something together. Grabbing the 4.5-inch angle grinder with no shield, with a cutoff wheel, with no glove, no fucking glasses, and knowing, do not put it in this angle or you're gonna have it explode or you're gonna get whatever in your eyeballs. I can do that shit with one hand behind my back. Yeah. With both eyes closed, because I've done it so many times for fucking my whole life. So it's the same thing. You got to get comfortable with the process of it and the timing of it, because it's timing. You know, it's like, okay, I got to be able to invest a solid fucking 6 hours here, or the job is ruined. Yep. So it's a commitment thing too.
So when you were, you said you kind of got into the car thing or the truck thing at like 14 up there in North Dakota. What was what pushed you into the bodywork part of it more than anything?
I can tell you, that when I was in middle school, I started 7th grade and I was doing the BMX thing, not like legitimately racing, but we were doing trails and doing jumps and shit. And I loved that. And that was like X Games was top of the world. Like, you know, we're talking, fuck, this would have been in 2000, you know? So I guess what happened was I went to middle school, I found skateboarding, I fell in love with it. Hooked, I will die a skateboarder, that's who I am, okay? Yeah. But when you turn 14 up there, like I told you earlier, since there's really not much to run into and there's not many cars and it's very easy to drive up there because there's no traffic, you can get your permit at 14, you keep it for 6 months, and then you can get your license. So at 14.5 years old, you're balling in your first car. Dude, like that's way too young. Like looking back at it, that's way too young. So I had my first car, 14 and a half, and the car presented a way for me to not have to, and actually I should tell you that when you get your permit, you can ride a moped, a scooter. So my first vehicle was a scooter. It's like an 82 Yamaha little, like legit moped, like had pedals and everything. And I would strap the board to the seat and I'd sit on it or throw it behind my backpack and I would ride the moped to the skate park. That changed life. I no longer have to walk or skate to the skate park. So when I got my car, the car was nothing more than, hell yeah, we can go all over town and street skate anywhere we want, any time of the day. This is going to change everything. So that's what we did. We started skating all over town. But what happened was the cool thing to do as a stupid teenager was cruise Main Street. All right. And Main Street was popping back then. This is pre-Fast and the Furious, which you talk about a lot. So I would like to put my spin on the Fast and the Furious. This is pre-Fast and Furious. So we're cruising Maine. So there's this dude. Now, keep in mind, there's not a lot of people of color in North Dakota, okay? So there's this black dude, and he calls himself Big Daddy. And he cruises Maine, and he's an old dude, and you're like, okay, this is kind of creepy, but this dude's rolling an 86 Regal on 13-inch wires and hydraulics. And bro, you have, from North Dakota, you have never seen nothing.
Are you from California?
Dude, nothing like this. So that car hooked me. So we would mob in the McDonald's parking lot, and we would just kick it all night long with this dude with his Regal. And he kind of was like that baby, or like that dad that took the babies under the wings. He taught us everything about hydraulics and lowriders. You guys need to read Lowrider magazine. So next thing you know, we're buying Lowrider magazine. So I'm reading it, and they're talking about boxing the frame here, wrapping the frame there, shaving this door handle, Frenching this license plate. And I'm like, bro, I don't have a clue what this means. I have no idea.
Couldn't look it up on YouTube.
No, there was no basic, there's damn near, the internet barely existed at that point. So I didn't really know what any of it meant, but I was hooked on wire wheels. So I then, what I was currently driving was a Geo Prism 93.
Fuck yeah.
My mom bought it for me. Beggars can't be choosy. All right. So all I wanted to do is put hydraulics and wire wheels on this fucking Geo Prism, right? So I put some 13x7s on it, 4-inch poke outside of the fender, and this fucking car was ridiculous. It was horrible. Looking back, I'm so ashamed of it, but it made me who I am, man, because it brought me into meeting that dude, and his name is Bruce. Bruce had a little car club, and that showed me the camaraderie of what a car club is about. It was called Nightlife. All I wanted was to join his club. He let me in the club. I got my logo. Man, I'm on top of the world, and I'm 15 years old. Well, long story short, the car got hailed out. By the way, I put a PS1 in that car.
Oh, shit.
Bro, I painted all the interior blue and put crushed velvet inside of it. Painted the PS1 blue to match the interior. I mean, this shit. 4-inch LCD. No sound, just digital picture. So I had to strip the car before the insurance took it from my mom. And she didn't have much money left over, and I didn't have a job quite yet. I was real close to it. So I had found a little Mazda B2000 pickup, and it was lowered, and it was bitching, and I wanted it.
Yeah.
So my mom got it, and she spent like $1,800 on this truck, and then I started reading mini trucking. From there, game over. The cars that started as a way to go skateboard turned into an addiction of modifying cars. But I had no experience, zero. My dad didn't teach me how to change oil. He didn't teach me what a wrench, he taught me things. My parents got divorced when I was in 3rd grade, so I didn't have as much of an opportunity for him to teach me things. And then he moved out of state. So I like to say that a lot of it was self-taught, because nobody taught me. Like if I wanted to do something, I had to figure out how to do it. So I went and got a job right away, and that's what I did, was worked, saved money, bought tools, bought car parts, and I taught myself, and so I was just hooked at that point.
Like after you started kind of rolling this thing, like your gig for money was basically going to do bodywork in places?
Okay, so the bodywork stuff came when I didn't love school. I was a typical skateboarder. Average grades, closer to failing, but not like a shithead that's going to fail. You know? I just didn't really care much. I always had girlfriends, so I stayed busy with that side of it, and I didn't really focus on school. So what happened was I was addicted to the car thing, and I wanted to learn how to shave a door handle. I finally figured out, okay, what that means is you take it out and you weld up a filler panel and smooth it out, get rid of it. Well, what happens after you weld it? Like, I'll figure out a welder. That's not that big of a deal. What do you do then? I didn't have a clue. I'd never heard of Bondo. I didn't know what body filler was. So I just started learning about it. Well, in 10th grade, I went to high school, and they offered a VOTEC class.
Nice.
And it was auto body. And I thought, dude, this class is like, you get out of school for 3 hours, out of the high school for 3 hours a day. So I got to drive to the college, stay up for 3 hours, do body work, and then drive back to high school, bang out like 3 classes. That was my day. Nice. So it was like really chill, dude. Like I quit math at Algebra 1. I quit science at fucking biology. I didn't do trig, none of that kind of shit. I don't know none of that stuff. So what I did was I did 3 years worth. Well, actually it was 2. One was a mechanical class, but then I did 2 full years of body work. And man, the teacher was this old bastard that had been a body man his whole life. And he hated every one of us fucking kids, because, like, don't kid yourself, 80% of the kids were just doing it to get out of school. But then the other 20%, they cared. They wanted to learn this. They were interested. I was one of them. So we would get to pull our personal vehicle in on Friday. I legit built a truck on Fridays in high school. Dude, I shaved the handles. I welded the tailgate roll pan with a full skin, French plate box. I did fucking a sliding rag top. I fucking fixed hail damage, primed it. I was welding shit to the frame so that I could drag the fucking frame more, because I drug it off to there was nothing left of the frame, so I'd have to add filler panels to the frame so I could keep throwing sparks, because I was big into air ride back then. So that got me hooked. But as, I guess, my perfectionist type mentality, I didn't really know I was a perfectionist, but I learned it working on vehicles. And I'm sure I fucked up lots of shit, but over time, it kind of clicked. And in North Dakota, it snows constantly. Winters are like 7-8 months long. There's not much to do. There's not a hot rod scene. It's very small. It's very limited. There's no businesses. And I thought, at the time I was delivering furniture. I had worked in some body shops, but I decided that I am just going to have my own shop on the side with the homies, rented some shops with some homies, building trucks and having parties. And then I delivered furniture. It was a paycheck, you know, and I enjoyed it. And it kept me physically, exercising and lifting heavy shit. So that was good. But I got to a point in life where I'm like, you know what? If I want to do something in life, I got to make a decision here. I can't keep delivering furniture. What am I going to do with myself? What do you want to be when you grow up? And man, I was like 23. And my little sister had left the state at 18. She moved to Phoenix. She ended up moving to St. Louis. And was dating, weird as it sounds, a friend of mine from the same club. And I accepted that relationship very reluctantly, but we became cool with it. And my friend became my brother-in-law. And so she moved to St. Louis to live with this guy. And I'm like, well, St. Louis has got to have some kind of a hot rod scene.
Yeah.
It's a huge city. You know, I've never been in a big city. Fuck it, I'm out. So I packed my bags and I headed south. I left my girlfriend. I said, look, you can come with if you want, but I got to do this for me. And so I left. A month later, she showed up. Here she sits, sitting inside the house 11 years later. So she's definitely my ride or die. She's been by me through this whole transition of moving. And that it was basically like just having the balls to just get out and try and do something with yourself. It was crazy. It was scary. But I've never looked back. And the future is looking fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be difficult if you're from like such a small town where maybe opportunities aren't as fruitful as they are
there
in
are
the city,
almost none, dude. There's almost none. Like it just doesn't. People are not into custom cars because why would you be into a custom car or a bike or a boat?
Yeah.
When you can only use it from May until August or September. That's not very cost effective.
Yeah.
Let's buy some snowmobiles instead and let's get into ice fishing.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And then deer hunting and
those things.
All that shit. And I'm just not that dude. I'm a skateboarder listening to punk rock and hip hop.
Yep.
You know? So I really never felt like I blended in, but I didn't know any better. I didn't know
what was like, you know, the vibe like to build like some of the trucks that you've built over the years, like you were showing me some pictures of, are fucking like amazing shit. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that you did. What was it like building stuff like that and then showing them, like going all over the country and then like you said, making all these friends and severed ties nationwide, and you know, because a lot of people I know, you know, a lot of people in other areas that are into bikes that were severed ties or are, and it's so funny when like, you know, because isn't Hoffman?
Like Curtis is one of those gray areas. Okay, so Curtis joined my chapter of Severed because he was in Minnesota, and you couldn't get a chapter unless you had 3 members, and they are not giving chapters out left and right. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do. So he had to join my chapter. He then moved to California, became a part of the California chapter. So, but Curtis has been around for a long time. But he's one of those gray areas. He never dropped out. He doesn't really talk to a lot of the Severed guys, but he's going to be super tight to a few of those dudes, like brother type tight.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, I don't know if they're just going to be acquaintances to him, but severed ties was such a big thing for us that, and it still is, it was such a big thing that he would never regret the path he chose. I mean, that dude was kind of the same story I just told you. In a real quick way, he left Minneapolis, or a suburb of Minneapolis. He was born and raised there, moved to Southern California, dude.
Yeah.
He moved in with the editor of Mini Truckin' Magazine.
Serious?
Bro. What a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So then he says, well, fuck, I got to get a job. Well, I'm not sure exactly what he did, but what he ended up doing was, I know that when he grew up, his dad had a motorcycle shop. So he knew motorcycles. He grew up with it.
Yeah.
He went out and got a job at West Coast Choppers as a parts guy for fucking Jesse James. That's like a dream job for like damn near anybody you ask, you know? He got to hang out and talk with Jesse James every single day as a young, stupid teenager. So he probably didn't, I don't know. I'm not assuming, but I am assuming. I don't mean to be negative, but like I feel like maybe he didn't let it absorb or really take it in for what it was.
Yeah.
And I think that he was probably partying a lot and just being a young dumb kid, just like we all did. And he ended up maybe having enough of it and moving back to Minnesota. And that is common with people from up north where we're from, because it's such a wholesome place. There's no hatred. You don't have to lock your doors. Everybody's good people. It's yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Thank you. It's a very wholesome type place. There's like there's no murders, no crime until just recently, 2020. Thanks a lot. But
It's been pent up.
Yeah, dude, it's very wholesome.
They've been needing to purge up there.
I agree with you. But no, it's like it's a place you want to raise your kids.
Yeah.
It's just the elements are so shit that you can't live a happy life.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
You could probably it probably would have been a much more desirable place before the internet showed you the rest of the world.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Completely agree with that.
And now you could be snowing with fucking 10 feet of snow outside, and then meanwhile someone's in Phoenix riding bikes.
Right, but remember that had a lot to do with me getting into severed ties at such a young age.
Yeah.
It taught me to lock myself into the shop for the wintertime.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier, you can't do much besides stare at the TV, watch movies, play video games, go to the bar. Man, you're not going to get far in life doing any of that stuff. Yeah. And if you're going to the bar, you're getting in trouble, you're getting in fights, you're hooking up with chicks, you're having babies that you didn't plan on, you're changing your life, and you didn't mean to. And instead of getting it, like I partied and I had fun, but I didn't start drinking until like 18, 19. And
it's still illegal, by the way, but it's all good.
It was illegal, but I taught myself to stay out of trouble and do something. And what I was doing was just locking myself in the shop. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Many, thousands of nights by myself, nobody else. Also thousands of nights with the homies, learning stuff together. Man, you have not lived your life till you cut the floor out of a truck and drop the cab over the floor and body drop that truck so the rocker panels lay flat on the ground. And the first time you see those rocker panels on the ground, you're like, look at the smile on my face right now. That should sum it up. Yeah. But then you say, holy fuck, how do I fix this? Yeah. How do I put this back together? And it's just that fucking kill or be killed mentality. Like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure this shit out. And that's how I became who I am.
Yeah.
So with the showing of the trucks and taking the trucks around, that was just a dream come true, man. It was like growing up, reading these magazines, seeing these clubs and these like high up people.
You know something that's like real unique about like you compared to all the other people I've known that's been in this thing is, you ever notice that a lot of people like have great ideas or can execute a lot of cool shit, but they just don't know how to finish things?
Right. Or they just never do it. Like they lack the motivation, or they're lazy.
And especially, and that's kind of one of the things that, I'm not going to name names, but I know a lot of people that just they're not in the habit of finishing things that they start.
Right.
And I don't know if they ever fully get to experience what it's like to dream something up, work on it for whether it's a bike for a couple weeks or a couple months or a car for a couple years, and see the end product and enjoy it.
Right.
The
gratitude of finishing something. That's really what it was for me. It was setting a goal and finally achieving that goal. It was looking at trucks on the cover of Mini Truckin' Magazine and saying, man, that's my dream. Yeah. I want nothing more than life. I don't care if I'm rich. I don't care if I have kids. I don't want nothing besides that. Yeah. And I really felt that way. And the one truck that I built, I won't go into like too many details, but it was a 93 Toyota pickup, and it's a very iconic truck. It took me 6 years to build that truck because I'm on a young guy budget, living at home, eating ramen noodles for 6 years.
Patience, though, for someone young to do something like that.
Yeah, and you don't find that.
Pretty amazing.
You don't find that. So I knew I was different, but what else am I going to do in life, man? Like, I know, here, let's credit this. I watched my father ruin his marriage as a kid. And I thought, man, I don't want to be that way someday. Yeah. I don't want to drink the way he drank, because look what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
That's my answer to it. I've instilled that in my children as well. Just like, hey man, this is how it is. If you set your mind to something, then you got to stick with it. Yeah. Otherwise, just don't even fuck around. Just do whatever you want, but don't talk about it. And it's the same way with my kids with like skateboarding. My fucking 13-year-old can't land a kickflip to save his life. He's been this close for like 6 months, dude.
Yeah.
He comes, this summer, he's like, Dad, I landed a heel flip. I'm like, bro, I don't care about a heel flip. You got to get that goddamn kickflip before you move on to the next trick. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's my mentality. Yeah. I don't know where it came from, but that's who I am. I guess I was born with it, man. But
it does take a lot of like those type of things though to be a finisher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like the prep work, the body work, the metal work, even hell nowadays, I don't even do body filler work over bare metal. It's straight up clean the metal with bare gloves, straighten the booth, epoxy, body work over epoxy every single time. I haven't had a lot of things come back to bite me in the ass, but the times I have, it's because I didn't spray epoxy first. I know better than that. Even though the products tell you that you can do it, I don't believe all that shit. I mean, that's when you're doing something so high quality and expensive, you can't roll the dice like that. So I guess it's just one of those, it's patience. And I really don't know where I got that from. Truly. I hope to figure that out someday, but right now I don't know where it came from. But I'm grateful for it because I'm a quality over quantity guy.
Yeah, I definitely. Patience is coming. Like I have the most patience for certain things in life, and then I have zero for other things. Like we were talking about earlier. Like seeing your Road King build made me miss some of the bikes that I had done in the past. That like I wouldn't say that my bikes were on that level. You know what I mean? Like your shit's so to the T, but.
Probably pretty close though.
But I felt like
the FXR was like a frame up.
It was a frame up deal. Like it was really nice and clean. But even then, I was still impatient. That the FXR was a build that started in January, and I was riding it to California June 1st. You know what I mean?
Right. That's where you and I differ. So I finished this truck and built this car. Then I branched out into the 50s and 60s cars, which I'd love to talk about if you want to, but that's really who I am is the old car guy, guy.
So does the mini truck, is that mini truck kind of like the gateway drug?
It is. It's
and then you get into either the full size trucks or you go into like the more vintage or like the older.
Yeah, the mini truck guys, we don't like the guys that did the import thing. Now, like the 240 guys like you, like drag racing or even drifting, we're cool with that.
Yeah.
But when you're doing like the stance thing where you're like tucking the wheel well.
That wasn't a thing when I was younger.
No, it wasn't. But I think our mindset was when you have a Toyota pickup or a Ford Ranger, when the rocker panels lay on the ground and you're running, back then we were running 16s or 17s. But then I stepped it up to a 19-inch wheel, which is weird because that was the biggest that could fit without cutting the hood. Like not like the bottom of the hood was cut, but I'm talking cutting a hole in the hood, right? So it laid flat rocker on a 19. And when you look at the back of that truck, it tucked every single lug nut in the bedside, like the wheel well opening. There wasn't an exposed lug nut. So we're like, yeah, fuck you guys in your Hondas. You can't even tuck a lug nut. I'm tucking all 5 of these motherfuckers, It was just a stupid ass fucking kid. Like, yeah, well, you got Wings West. Well, I got Arabuni, or whatever. Yeah. That's some old school shit. But yeah, it's a gateway thing for sure. The reason we did it was we liked, I guess, the lowrider aspect of it.
I feel like most of the people that did mini trucks physically did it. Like it was like the garage. It was like the thing you built, like the kind of like the basket case chopper kind of thing.
Absolutely, they built it themselves, which turned out to be a shit show. By the way, I mean it was not good and it still isn't very good until you learn and kind of perfect your craft.
I mean, dude, back in the day when I would go to truck shows, because when I rode sport bikes, they went real hand in hand with the truck shows. It's like the same chicks wanted to bang us. You know what I mean? So it was always
I don't know about that one.
Well, that's what it was like when I was a kid. So you go to the truck show, they used to do a bunch of those in Dallas.
That's in Texas, though.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. Like, we didn't have a lot of sport
so
bikes.
It was like everybody had Famous Stars and Strap shirts on. The belt buckles, and everybody was starting to get star tattoos and fucking famous F's on them and family across the chest and shit and all that stuff. And then,
did you ever get one of those tattoos?
No, I didn't.
My man.
No,
neither did I.
No, I didn't. I didn't do much. I don't know, but yeah. So we would go to these truck shows, and at the time I was still painting, like that was my gig, But I would go there, and you would see like primer trucks, and they would have like airbrushed all over it, you know what I mean, on the primer. But it seemed like, oh, that's cool. Like I get it. Like it's like I'm your boy and I'm a painter, you're a body guy or a fab guy, and we all hang out, and then we all kind of practice on your project.
100%, because you're learning how to do it. The main thing that you're not talking or you're not mentioning is money. It's all about the money. So the young dudes can't afford cool shit.
Yeah.
So back then in the 90s and the 2000s, early 2000s, you could buy any mini truck you wanted. Nissans, Datsuns, Mazdas, Toyotas, S10s, Rangers. You could buy them for under $3,000 all day long.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted them anymore. And they were still clean.
It ran forever.
Yeah, dude. And you were cutting up perfect trucks.
With your little Yoda.
Cutting up perfect trucks. Nowadays, you can't find a Toyota pickup for under $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000.
Yeah. Because
they're bulletproof and they last forever. So as long as they took care of them and they're not rusted out, they're worth gold nowadays. Mm-hmm. But back then, that's all that a young dude, it was a young man's sport, and that's all that he could afford. So a lot of that mentality, airbrushing over primer. Well, fuck, that seems really stupid. I mean, it does. That was just a cop-out to never have to make it perfectly straight and never have to buy that gallon of base and that gallon of clear and have to spray the truck.
Finish the project.
Yeah, and it's more of a cop-out. But it was a legit cop-out.
The under construction thing that seemed to be, they should have just clubs called under construction.
Yeah. I had one of my trucks had a construction zone feature in mini trucking.
Nice.
And I still have it on a plaque hanging up, you know, and it was a thing. They did a full-blown under construction spread with 2 trucks every single month in mini trucking. And dude, it was a lifetime goal of all of the mini truckers just to make it into the construction zone.
That's cool though.
And so,
but you know what's really weird, because you said the magazines were an inspiration to a goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same thing for me. Like when I was a kid growing up, magazines that's when you kind of made it. Even though we all know you get in a magazine, it ain't like you get checks and fucking mailbox money, but
that's the who's who.
Yeah.
It always has been. Cars, bikes, trucks, it's all the same thing. And once you have made it up there, it's the ultimate business card.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate calling card, you know? What more do I have to prove to you people? Look at this truck. There's something about having that piece of paper in front of you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I still have like 5 copies of that magazine in my basement. They're weather sealed, just in case my kids or my grandkids ever give a shit someday.
Yeah.
And they want to think it's cool. It would be an honor for them to think that way. So it was, plus man, like how many other kids you go to high school with that can say that shit?
Yeah.
Nobody, dude. Like that's something to be proud of. Even if it's mini trucking, it's still something to be proud of.
I was hanging out with my son last weekend last weekend. And we were doing something, and I was like, you know I'm cool, right? I told him that. I goes, you know I'm pretty cool, right?
I do that shit all the time. Like,
and my son's like, it's like, okay, and, you know, because he's, you know, like he watches like those YouTube toy guys and stuff,
right?
And I'm like joking, but I'm like serious. Like one day you're gonna find out who the fuck I am.
Yep.
And you're gonna be like, wow, my dad was cool.
I fucking love this conversation. I could talk about this for hours. Dude, I've said it so many times. My next door neighbor, he built like a strawberry planter. Mm-hmm. Like he grows strawberries. And then he push mows his yard with his fucking Jordashes and his white New Balances. And then he put up this like this tarp, and he projects movies onto it. So they have family movie night on Saturday, you know. Anyways, I call him Rick Moranis, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He reminds me of that dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my next door neighbor. All right. Meanwhile, I'm the fucking asshole across the street with throat and neck tattoos, rolling up on Harleys that are amazing looking, and hot rods and lifted fucking trucks, and we're skateboarding.
All the cool shit.
We're skateboarding in the driveway, and then the homies pull up, and like my neighbors have gotta hate me, you know?
Yeah.
So that mindset there, like I do that to my kids all the time, especially my oldest who skateboards.
Yeah.
I still beat him and skate when we play. I still skate with them, and like, bro, you ain't never gonna be as good as me, you know? Because I got 20 years on you. And then he's like, hey, Dad, have you ever heard of this skater? his name's, whatever. It's like, I don't know, like an 18-year-old right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I ain't never heard of that guy. You ever heard of fucking Chad Muska? I don't want to. You shut your mouth until you know who Chad Muska is, punk, you know?
Fucking shorties.
So, but I told him the same thing. I'm like, bro, someday you're going to appreciate me. I might embarrass you and piss you off.
Yeah.
But you're going to look back and you'll be like, God damn, my dad, that was a cool motherfucker. Someday, keyword.
Yeah, and that's kind of, man, part of me thinks it would be super cool to have, like, my son fall in love with these type of things. Mm-hmm. But, he's still 10, right? So he's still got a while to fall in love with it. So I'm trying to take him on the bike. I'm trying to acclimate him to that and see where it goes. But, man, I think that I don't really know. I don't know how to fucking raise kids. It's like your puppies. You keep saying, we don't know. We're just going with the flow, right?
Just flying by
That's
the
how
seat
you're
of your
doing
pants,
kids,
man. With your kids, even though you have an 18-year-old and my oldest is 13, I guess my thing is you want to mold these kids into what you want them to be and teach them the right things, but you also don't want to force them to do anything.
Yeah.
And so my oldest is my stepson, and he's been with me since he was 2, so I don't really look at him as my stepson. He loves motorcycles, he loves skateboarding, he loves shooting guns, he likes tattoos, he's into everything I'm into.
He's a boy.
He is not my blood.
Yeah.
And he loves everything I'm about.
Yeah.
My actual son is almost 10. He looks just like me. He is a identical twin to me. He's an amazing kid, but he's the biggest fucking dweeb I've ever met in my life. He's smart. He likes Pokemon, and I make fun of his Pokemon all the time, and I need to quit doing that.
Yeah. It's going to be a complex later on.
It is, and I realize that. He loves YouTube, but then he loves video games, but he doesn't like playing the video games. He likes watching other kids fucking play them, and I'm like, dude. So it's almost disheartening to have this spitting image little mini me who wants nothing to do with what I'm into. Yeah. I have begged and begged and begged. I have offered to pay him to get on the back of my motorcycle with a helmet. I mean, I'll gear you up, I'll go slow. Dude, he won't do it. He refuses to get on the bike. Meanwhile, my 13-year-old, Dad, should I tell Mom that we did 110? No, don't tell Mom that we did that. Now, mind you, I'm being safe, as safe as you can be, but we're on a back road and he's fully geared up, and he loves that shit. But it's hard nowadays with the technology and shit. It's hard raising kids like that. So it is flying by the seat of your pants. You just try to turn them into the people that aren't like burning the statues down and doing the ignorant shit, and just try to teach them how to be a man, just like right from wrong.
Yeah, don't do this, don't do that.
It's the simple things in life at this point. So
that's true. Yeah, it's I mean, like I said, he's still, now that he's gotten older, it's like way easier for me to I guess identify with him better.
Yeah.
Or
do you ever try to view him as like a homie instead of your son?
All the time. Yeah.
Right. A lot of people tell me I'm wrong by doing that, but I never forget the parenting aspect. If I got to whoop your ass, I'm gonna whoop your ass. But I'd rather be your homie instead of that authority dude that
you don't want to talk to, or you feel like you can't.
I'd rather be tight with you.
Yeah.
I'd rather take you with me on the bike. I'd rather take you out of state and take you to I took my kids to their first punk rock concert last year, dude. It was amazing. I took an 8-year-old to a punk concert. It's fucking awesome.
So I took my daughter when she was young. I took her to a Tool cover band. And then, I don't know, like I said, everybody listening to this, they know I like Tool. So she grew up, my daughter's mixed, so both my kids are mixed, right? And so I just wanted her to appreciate both heritages or cultures that she had. And so I didn't want her to, like I was telling you earlier, I didn't start listening to rock music till Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 let me know it was available. There's some cool shit out there.
Right.
Before that, in my school, it felt like if you listen to rock music, you kind of got bullied by all the, the standard of what everybody was doing. So, I wanted to make sure that she was very musically open-minded and likes a lot of different shit. So my daughter was fucking like 15 years old, rocking Pink Floyd, and then it'll go listen to Lil Wayne, and then turn around and put Metallica on or Pantera or some shit. So
I'll tell you what, that will turn her into one hell of a personality.
Yeah,
like as a unique person for 2020.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
So I remember when she was a kid. So the lead singer from Tool has a vineyard. He does wine and shit, right? And so he came
is it Maynard's Vineyards?
Pretty much, I think.
Sorry,
but
dad joke. We're talking about our kids. I can't help it.
Yeah, you do it. That's fine.
All right, cool.
So he was at a Whole Foods in the north side of Dallas, like signing bottles. You had to buy a bottle. Mm-hmm. And mind you, when I was at this time, I think I was 23 or 4. No, I was 26. She was like in 2nd grade or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting her out of school because I was like, I had my daughter from when she was 2 until she was like 10.
Okay.
Like her mom was gone somewhere. It was just me and her.
Full time? Yep.
Yeah. So like our routine was pick her up from school every day, and then I'd take her. Usually I would work at a shop during the day and then get off, go pick her up from school, and then we would go to a lowrider shop, and I'd be like laying graphics out or airbrushing, and she would hang out in the shops all the time.
Exact same story. My kids grew up in the body shop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I picked her up from school and got her out early and made up some bullshit to tell the fucking, we got some family stuff we got to go deal with, blah, blah, blah. And then we go and we stand in line for like 3 hours to get a bottle of wine signed by the lead singer of Tool.
Yeah.
And it was so fucking weird, because I was like, man, I feel really gay sitting here doing this, but fuck it, it's an experience. I've never like nerded out or waited in lines for anything, you know what I mean? So why, I want to see what this is like. And I just remember getting the bottle, walking over to him and handing him the bottle to sign, and my daughter and him just kind of had a staring contest.
Yeah, okay.
It was just, I was like, fucking cool, And
was it funny?
Well, kind of, but me and my daughter talk about it now because she was old enough to remember doing it and stuff like that.
And now she listens to Tool.
Yeah, she listens to Tool and everything.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's just like, I don't know, like it's things like that I got to be way more hands-on with my daughter growing up because I was with her all the time. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when she started getting into like the puberty age, her mom kind of got her shit together and she went to live with her, and she's been with her since then. But, my son, like, man, I didn't, I had him. Me and his mom were already on a rocky thing whenever the fucking baby thing came along, and then the baby didn't help it, right?
Right.
So it was like I really wanted to fucking be there, for him every day like that. So, but it is what it is, and like figure it out and stuff like that. But
as he turns into more of a man, he'll understand like what it is you do and why you had to do what you had to do.
Yeah.
Like we talked a lot about that earlier. It's true. You got to make sacrifices if you want to get anywhere on this planet. So,
especially like the kind of shit that we both do, with being.
Yeah, man, it's so taxing. It takes so many hours out of the day, and
it's not a mindless job. Not saying everybody's job that isn't building cool cars or bikes is mindless, but if you think about it, if you have the kind of job where you can go to work, you can turn work on at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. and you turn it off at 9 or 5. Sorry, those are my hours.
Yeah, banker. I forgot you work banker hours, Chase.
So you know what I mean? Like you that's a way different. You're your neighbor, right? You got time to think about doing family nights and shit like that, or build planters,
right, man,
or mow the yard. Like I pay someone to mow my yard because I don't have fucking time to do that shit.
Right. It's like that realization that you're not just an average person anymore. Yeah. It's like I am that unique. I do what the fuck I want, whatever time I want. I don't answer to nobody, and it's pretty fucking cool. I mean, it's the most bittersweet thing ever, but it allows us to be who we were supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a good, I think Danny G said it best, is like the skateboarder kids were the kids that didn't fit in with the jocks, the preppy kids.
Dude.
And they find it. And I think that a lot of that is kind of like our culture.
Dude, 100%.
Like we don't really, as bikers.
Right. Yeah, don't call me a biker.
As guys that ride bikes, you can find yourself hanging out with people that are definitely not like us, but we click because of the bike or the car or whatever the case may be. But
yeah, that's true. But it's also surprising how many people are like us. Like, oh yeah, like the skater kids.
Yeah.
It's a thing, man. It was so popular in the era that we grew up in that it's inevitable we're going to find more of us. And how the hell it ended up being Harleys, I don't know, but thank God it did, man. It's fucking so cool.
So what was it like going from building, these cars and these trucks to like building Harleys? You know what I mean? What was your first bike?
Yeah. It's hard to really, it's still a whirlwind to me, but when I moved to the St. Louis area, I needed, all right, so I was a hot rod guy, right? Mm-hmm. I still had a mini truck. It was on the cover of Mini Truckin'. It was still like a prime kind of truck that people are going to fucking love to own that truck.
Yeah.
I had also gotten into the old school cars. I built a couple of 60s Cadillacs on air ride. And so when I moved, I had my mini truck and I had a 65 Cadillac laid out and a dually. And I got here and I sold all of them. Actually, I sold them, both of the trucks, and then I traded the Cadillac for a rat rod, which was like not mainstream just yet.
Yeah.
It was cool to have a rat rod. Like, damn, that's a cool car.
Yeah.
Now it's like another one of you motherfuckers. You know? Like so anyways.
Get out with your affliction shirt on.
Right. So when I got in St. Louis, I sold the cars or the trucks, and I bought my dream car at the age of 25 years old.
Yeah.
I bought a 59 Cadillac Coupe de Ville with cash, bro. $25,000 cash. And it was a bit of a project, but it was a 59 Coupe de Ville. It was a holy grail car. So I really felt like, okay, I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life, only based off of a car. Like, forget the house I'm renting. Forget the fact that I no longer have a daily driver. Like, I'll drive this 59 Cadillac every day. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. So shortly after that, I had to buy a shitty little car to drive. But anyways, I needed a job. I had moved to St. Louis. So I was with some truck friends from Severed Ties and Negative Camber. We were at dinner. It was like my first week in the St. Louis area. We were at dinner, and this dude that I had met one time previously in the truck scene comes to dinner, and I'm like, oh, I recognize this dude, but why is he here? Like, he's not my friend or anything. Well, one of my friends brought him with. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out this is Springle, which is Jason Springle. Mm-hmm. And he was nothing like me, but he was a painter, and he was very well known as, this is the man. You want your shit badass? This is the painter to go to.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at dinner, and I think that was the first night I had a martini, which I had recently heard your story about that. I'm proud of you, by the way. This was like 10 years ago. I had my first martini. So
it was like a month ago on the date, I think.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to drink martinis someday, just so you know that. Extra dirty.
It's going to be the new fucking extra performance bagger thing, is martinis.
Blame Daniel, proper baggers is bougie as fuck. It just, it is what it is. So we're at dinner, and I said, hey, Springle, you want me to teach you how to come and paint? And he's like, yeah, fuck, someone needs to, He's like, all right. I'm like, all right, cool. And he goes, yeah, come in on Monday. I'm like, well, wait, you serious? Like, I'm looking for a job. I'm thinking about going to work at like a furniture store, He's like, yeah, come in on Monday. So I went in Monday. It was the second week that I lived there. Mm-hmm. I had no time off, basically. Went in Monday morning, never fucking left. I'm still there. He's my man wife. He's my best friend. He's my fucking, like, cause of all my gray hairs.
Yeah.
Love him to death. He'll be my best friend, like, till the day we die. So we built that together for the last 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And so I've been working with him and also now for him, more of an independent type deal with more builds. But that is what got me into a body shop working on cool shit. Well, what did I want to do? I wanted to paint badass mini trucks.
Yeah.
Hot rods. Nope. He's done some paint work on cars. He's done a couple cool things. He had painted some monster trucks. He'd been to SEMA a couple times.
Yeah.
He painted a monster truck for Jesse James.
For real?
Yeah. He paints microphones for famous rock stars. So like, all right, you got a cool thing going here. Well, I know how to do body work. I worked in a body shop previously. I went to school for it. They're just motorcycles. Can't be that tough. You ever straighten a quarter panel on a fucking Cadillac? Right?
Yeah.
This will be a cakewalk. So the first fucking day I worked there, I had no paint experience. I had like sprayed base coat, but nothing custom paint, nothing. But just body work mostly. So the first day on the job was, hey man, I just sprayed this brand new Street Glide, which at the time would have been like a 10 or 11 Street Glide.
Yeah.
No big deal, $30,000 bike. I just painted it candy brandy wine with a fade from like silver to galaxy gray, brandy wine over the top of it. I need you to cut it down so I can put graphics on it. And I'm like, holy fuck, I don't want to burn through the clear coat on this thing. Like, I am not a pro at this.
Yeah.
And there was, like, that's where I started. So I knew how to do it, but I didn't have a lot of experience with it. So I just took it real slow, real cautious. You know, a couple months in, I'm like, man, I'm decent at this. I think I can do this. And so what happened was, since I'm working there with Springle, and he's a motorhead, he's also kind of into motorcycles, but he mostly paints motorcycles. I'm pushing him. I'm like, dude, I got this buddy in Phoenix that wants his mini truck painted. I got this severed ties guy that wants his car painted. Let's get these guys in here. Let's do these badass cars. Let's go to SEMA. Let's be on the cover of magazines. And boy, did we ever. I mean, holy fuck, do we have magazine features, covers, SEMA vehicles. Dude, we fucking killed it for like 8 years. That's all that we did.
Yeah.
But while working on these bikes, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because of my father when he had turned 40 and he really got into the Harley scene, you know. I didn't know what the fuck it was, but he always talked about his Road King. It was his prized possession. Mm-hmm. I bought a brand new Road King, and that's the fucking king of the road. And I'm like, oh, whatever, Dad. Maybe all that fucking shit I listened to like finally caught up to me, and I'm like, you know what? These are kind of cool. Now, this is right when 4-inch stretch bags were like almost unheard of. Okay? So this sets the tone. You were there.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I don't know much about custom bikes, but I know choppers look cool. Fuck it, I'm a dude chopper. So I took a buddy that knew how to work on Sportsters and found like an 82 Yamaha 4-cylinder, and it was, I'm doing air quotes, it was a bobber, okay?
Yeah.
Bobbers were fucking hot at that time, like everybody wanted a bobber.
Yeah.
What is that bike? Oh, you can build it for $3,000? Wow, that's amazing. I want a bobber. Okay, so I had to have a bobber, so I went and bought this bobber. Yes, it was flat black spray painted, red wheels, white walls. Fucking the white walls were painted on.
Oh, rockabilly, dude.
Listen, dude, it was straight Reverend Orton heat, but it was a bike. And I had some previous moped experience, but no motorcycle experience. You know, I've been on the back of my dad's bike a couple of times as a kid, but I wasn't really into the nuts to butts Rule 42 type things. So I didn't have a lot of experience riding. So I bought this bike, and what did I do? I wanted to make it look cool. As long as it looks cool, that's all I care about. So I fucking changed this, put a Model A taillight on it that said fuck you, and put brand new white walls on it, murdered it out, made it, you know, as good looking as you can make that piece of shit 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
I didn't know what jetting a carb was, you know, and it's got 4 of them. So I'm like, fuck that, I'm leaving them alone. I don't know how to do that. But I started riding the bike, just like up to 50 miles an hour. It's so little that it wasn't much to ride it.
Yeah.
I grew up driven 5-speed, so a clutch was no big deal. But I just had no bike experience. So I took off and I just started real slow, and I would go out by myself and I would just kind of get used to it. Well, then my old lady got pregnant with my son. And she's never been that like basic bitch that says, you're not going to do this, and, you know, like balls in the purse. Like, she's like as dope as it gets. But while she was pregnant, she did really enforce, you're about to be a father. You don't need to kill yourself on a motorcycle. I really think you should sell this bike. I'd really appreciate it if you sell this motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Fuck, man. Like, I like riding it. I wasn't into it like that deep financially. Yeah. I can afford it, but I respected it and I sold it. And, well, that only lasted about a year or two. And I ended up buying my first Sportster.
Yeah.
Now, what's cool about this Sportster is John Jackson shot this Sportster for Street Chopper magazine, which is a pretty dope magazine back in the day. And it was called Magic Vomit. And it was a 93 Evo. Let's say it was like as 70s as it could get for a 90s Sportster. Mm-hmm. Paint job was dope. It was the paint job was featured in a PPG advertisement. Like, it was dope.
So you bought it already done, or did you?
Yeah, it's a finished bike.
Nice.
And I'm like, I could ride this thing, right? So I got it. But as soon as I got it, we're still in the era of like murdered out.
Yeah.
So I got this bike and it's fully chromed out, tall chrome sissy bar, chrome 21-inch spool front wheel, fucking like no front brake, chopper. It's a fucking chopper and it is nice. But I stole it. I paid like 4 G's for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, I usually build shit. I'm gonna make this thing my own. So I tore it down to a frame, started over. What did I do? I got rid of all the chrome, and so I went all black and brass, which brass was like super popular at the time. Finished it. It got shot for a magazine. It was in Raw Bike magazine. Fucking cool. Like, I had a truck in a magazine. Now I got a bike in a magazine. This is fucking cool.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm riding this little Sportster chopper. It's not comfortable. It's a hardtail. I can't go anywhere on it. I'm not even trying to go anywhere, but like, this is the bike, this is a true bar hopper. Mm-hmm. And I got little kids. I don't have time to do bar hopping. I'm not interested in bar hopping. What do I need this bike for? I really don't. I just love the way it looks.
Yeah.
I could hang it from the rafters and appreciate it till the day I die, you know? But I decided to buy a bigger motorcycle. You know, we've all had that one Sportster. You got to start somewhere. So the next bike was a newer Sportster, and I bought it like, it was 07 fuel injected, a little more reliable, bone stock. I turned it in this bitchin' little bike. I won't go into the details. It just is what it is, but it was a dope little bike for what it was. I went to work the Sturgis at Black Hills Harley, and I was big in the Cholo bikes, and I seen a olive pearl Softail Deluxe, and I'm like, God damn, that's a pretty motherfucker. Yeah. So at this time, I had already known Marshall Tucker, which he's been on your podcast, and Marshall lives not far from where I live, and he's become one of my best friends. So Marshall had built the same color 07 olive pearl Softail Springer, Heritage Springer. Gorgeous bike, fishtails, air ride, apes, all that shit. And I'm like, that motherfucker, that's it. That's a Harley.
I still like those.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And there ain't no fucking shame in that game. They're badass bikes. So I'm like, I gotta have that. Now, while I will admit it might have been like a rip on Marshall Tucker, but I'm like, well, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy anyway, so I'm gonna just see what I can do with this bike. So Harley made me an awesome trade-in deal on that Sportster, gave me like way too much money for it because it was custom. It looked the part. Yeah. They were going to sell it for good money because it's Sturgis, you know? Yeah. So they paid me real good for it. I got into this Deluxe for cheap and started over. So that's where the road trip started. So in between all that, I was building Cadillacs, like very, very well known in the Cadillac world, 50s and 60s.
I had a 66 four-door.
Okay. I had a 65 four-door. But I met my buddy Chris Zemlo from Chicago, and he is a fucking treat. He's just a different kind of dude. I don't know nobody like him. He's the first of his kind, but we've just become the best friends ever. And we have the same age kids and wife, and like we can go to Chicago and do tourist shit together and not talk about cars or bikes because we've become that type of family friends. You know, it's what it's all about. Well, Chris is a Cadillac guy. So we hit it off. Well, Chris had a Dyna in the past and a Sportster in the past. And he's like, oh man, I seen that Sportster and I like your new Deluxe. And I'm, yeah, hell yeah. Chris goes, we should take a road trip together. And I'm like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? Like, I don't take road trips.
Yeah.
I like custom. I like to work on them. I like to finish them. I like to stare at them. I'll ride them. I'll drive them. Cars, bikes, I will use them. But I'm not taking a road trip, dude. Like, I'm not trying to get rock chips. I'm not trying to break down somewhere. This is a custom. Shit happens to customs.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with, if something breaks down, I can't afford the tow bill back home.
Yeah.
What does Chris do? Talks me into a road trip. So the first thing we do is we take a road trip. We head up to Chicago. And I had already made the deluxe kind of custom and cool with, the Cholo stuff. And rode up to Chicago, where you're headed, and went to the Milwaukee Harley Museum. First time. And this is probably 5 years ago. Fuck, that place is cool. The Harley Museum. Dude, I know you haven't been there. You're going to love it.
I'm getting a private tour of that place from the curator.
You're going to love it.
And then we're doing a podcast as soon as it's over.
Yeah, you're going to, that's going to be, I'm sure that'll be one of my favorites and most people's favorites because that museum, if you take your time, you don't rush through it and read the shit and really let it soak in. When you get to that wall of gas tanks that you've seen photos of, as a painter, you're almost going to cry, dude. It's like fucking mesmerizing because you're going to be like, yep, I've painted that one. I've fixed this one. I've done that one. That was a motherfucker. God, that color sucked. Like, as a painter, it's got a whole new meaning. But also even walking up on that first 1903 bike that's in a glass case, it's so surreal seeing that thing.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place. So you're going to love it. But on our road trip, we went to the museum, loved it. We were with the wives, by the way. So, and the wives were kind of new with riding, but they're like, well, you're doing it, I'll come with, So we're all like, we're learning this shit together. And then we ended up we did the whole Lake Michigan Circle Tour. We did the whole thing. But when we got up to the North Shore, we continued north up to the South Peninsula, the South Shore of Lake Superior, which was an entire different feel. They had sand dunes, way better riding, more trees. Okay, I'm out here on this bike. I'm this fucking tattooed skater kid that builds these bitchin' Cadillacs. I'm not a nature guy. I'm just not into that.
Yeah.
Here I am, and I'm seeing some of this shit that's I've never seen nothing like this, nature-wise. The lake looks like the ocean. Okay?
Yeah.
And at this point, I ain't never been to the ocean. So I'm like, this is fucking cool. And it was more like the camaraderie. I'm with a group there was more guys with us, and I'm with a group of car guys, and we're not talking about cars at all.
Yeah.
We're these car dudes that are only just talking about life and the motorcycles. And it was at that moment, it clicked for me. It was you know what? There's more to life than slaving in a body shop, sweating your ass off, just to get it on the cover of a magazine, just to have the bragging rights, get the notoriety, get the Facebook likes, whatever the fuck you're going for. There's more to life than that. And I am not going to waste my life anymore. So from that trip, because of Chris, I started taking road trips. And Chris is my road dog. He's the reason I'm doing this, straight up. And him and I, I'm sorry, I keep saying this. You and I talked about it earlier. Chris will be the dude that, we could be 50, we could be 80. He will be my go-to road dog.
Yeah.
We will have been to every state together. I know it. That's the kind of bond that we have together. And that's what I'm turning into, is that.
So you were on the
it's
deluxe.
Fucking crazy.
What was he riding at the time?
At the time, he was on a Softail. He had a Crossbones.
Whew.
Yeah, dog. So it was a Springer front end.
He had fringe cut off.
No. He had. So the Crossbones was the more hot rod one with the Springer front end, flat black with factory hot rod striping. So he had a major front end wobble problem because that front end weighed 300 pounds. And if you're not maintaining that front end and constantly changing the rocker bearings out on them and changing the neck bearings, well, what happens is the weight of that front end is so heavy, it wears a groove into your neck race on the bearing race.
Wow.
And it will create a groove to where, like when you set up your fall away, you'll feel that click where that groove had worn in. And all of that combined with the heaviness of it created this crazy front end wobble. Like this bike would fucking start just getting it. And he'd just power through it, hammer down. He'd make it through it. But he had a couple Sportsters and a Dyna, and then he was on this Crossbones. That's what he bought. And I was on the Deluxe. Well, I took the Deluxe to the next level. I wouldn't say it was a frame off. I'd say close to that, but it was like custom built swing arm, front air ride, full custom paint job. Like this thing was fucking cat's meow. And we were road tripping this bike with my old lady on the back, strapped down with all the luggage. Plus I put hard bags on it. So we are strapped the fuck down.
Yeah.
Chris has his wife on the back of his Crossbones, which we put hard bags on, and Springle and I had painted that bike for him, okay? So these two bitchin' Softails, we're out doing the Smokies together, and we're out doing this together, and we're dragging floorboards, we're dragging primaries, kickstands, dragging the fucking saddlebags. I don't know why, but we started to get a little more aggressive in our riding style. I guess because it was kind of boring. So we just fucking hammered down a little bit and we were having more fun. Well, we learned real quickly that this is dangerous, like dragging floorboards and like, not even just the floorboards, but like the floorboard mounts, you know what I'm saying? Like fixed items. This is a little
even
sketchy.
Like primaries, like if you keep going, you can actually pick up the rear wheel.
100%.
You know?
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So we got to the point where we're like, fuck, man, we're tearing up these Softails, and they're really nice Softails, but we're tearing them up, and it's not as fun. Plus, don't kid yourself, it's me and the wife, and him and his wife on Softails. We're like, fuck it, dude, let's just get baggers and be done with this. But we're still young dudes. We're like, fuck a geezer glide, you know?
Yeah.
So previously, before all that, I had built Springle's Street Glide, and it's very performance based. It doesn't have a big motor. It didn't have like all of the like amazing parts, but it looked the part. It looked like this bitch would go around a dirt track, and it was not your average bagger. This would have been like, it was the 77th anniversary of Sturgis is what I built it for. So this has been 3 years ago. Yeah. I started on it 3.5 years ago is when I started the build. At that time, Curtis Hoffman was just putting on carbon fiber parts. So to set the tone here, he was building a Street Glide for Sturgis the same year. And it was ironically the same color, but there was not many bikes out there. Now I'm not saying I started it, but there was not many baggers like that, okay? So I built that bike with Springle, for Springle, and I fucking fell in love with it because I'm like, man, this is not what a bagger is supposed to be. We've been doing 30s, 26s, stretch bags, blah, 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 blah. That's what a bagger is because that's what it's become. But Springle had this vision of, I want to take a Street Glide and put it on a dirt track. I'm like, okay, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, but I'm into it. Let's do it. So we did it. And ever since I built that bike with him, I was hooked, but I could never commit to owning it. So I listed my Softail for sale, and I asked a pretty penny for it, but it was a really, really, really nice bike. And I thought somebody will buy this thing. Sure as fuck, somebody bought it. Dude, I sold a 07 Softail Deluxe for 20 G's cash. Now the bike, it was worth it. Like, it was a nice bike. Yeah. But let's not kid ourselves. There ain't no Softail on the planet worth that. Not a 07.
Yeah.
So this dude knew what he was paying for, and he appreciated it, and I was very thankful for that. And 2 weeks later, I turned around and bought not brand new, but I bought a 17 Road King Special. And I have to be honest with you. My mindset at that time, this would have been in 2018, my mindset was, I'm going to turn this thing into a Cholo bike. Look at it.
Yeah.
So, because I still had that on my brain.
Yeah.
You know? I bought a Road King Special because it was murdered out, and that was kind of like, that's what the cool thing to do was, and I'll save some money because it's blacked out already.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? So I got it, and I don't know. I guess like I'll just blame Curtis Hoffman for it. You know, I've known Curtis forever. So.
Because you can't, like, you first came on the scene in like my eyes when you brought the last iteration of this bike to Daytona last year.
Well,
when like Daniel and everybody was down there.
Disclaimer: I have been on Facebook since high school, but I am so busy working.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time for social media. And then I have a family, and I try to be, you know, considerate of that. So I try not to glue myself to my phone.
Yeah.
I refused Instagram for like 3 years. Like, dude, there's all kinds of hashtags that are like, no Insta Havin Kyle, because Kyle doesn't have Instagram. So we're going to post Kyle's cars and his bikes on Instagram, but he doesn't have Instagram, so we can't tag him. And you know, people share those photos. So they're like non-Insta Havin Kyle. So finally, whatever, long story short, I fucking gave in. And it was, I could look if you want, but I think it was like 2018, probably like October 2018. Let's just put it that way. I joined Instagram. I finally gave in, like, and everyone's like, oh my God, fucking hell froze over, you know?
Yeah.
So I needed a username, and I'm like, well, there's, you know, the hashtag, no Insta Havin Kyle. Well, now I do, motherfucker, so I'm Insta Havin Kyle. And that's the fucking Instagram name, and it's fucking stupid, but it works.
It's unique, though. It has a little bit of a meaning to it.
Yeah, it works. So what I was getting at is I haven't been on Instagram very long. I've been doing the bike thing very seriously for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer, because keep in mind, I build them for customers all day, every day. They're just not like what I would build. Yeah. I'm building them for a person. So, but yeah, I held off on the Instagram thing. And so when I came on, I had Daniel from Proper Baggers like, hey, send me pictures. I want to post it, and I want to meet you in Daytona. And I'm like, motherfucker, who are you? Like, you're just some Canadian dude. Like, I don't even know you. Why are you messaging me? Well, I finished the bike, the first version. It was pretty bitchin'. Took it to Daytona with Monty Roach, and put it on display, and here comes Daniel. And boom, I met Daniel.
That year, I didn't go to that year, because I went in, I went 18. You brought it out in 19.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, it was 19. Because I bought it in 18, but I brought it out in February of 19.
Yeah, so when you brought it out, I remember that was like a week or two after I did the first podcast, I think, with Daniel from Proper Baggers. And
that was a phone interview, right?
Yeah, it was a phone interview.
Okay, yep.
And so I remember him posting it, and I can't remember if we were like talking or anything, but then while we were because I met you first in Sturgis last year. Right. So
19, yep.
So while we were in Sturgis, Daniel was like, Insta Havin, or Kyle's coming, and I didn't know. I met you guys at a fucking Starbucks, and I saw your ass within the first 10 minutes of meeting you.
Yeah, in Deadwood.
In Deadwood, so
nothing says bougie
like Starbucks,
and distinguished like seeing my tattooed ass in the first 10 minutes you met me.
There you go. So, it was like, like I said, and that's the reason why I've always enjoyed bringing Daniel on the podcast, because when you have, you could say he just has a repost page, right? Mm-hmm. But it is kind of like, it's like someone that actually is really involved with the scene,
and he is
curating this page, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got so many people that I've followed over the years that he's had the page that has a cool bike. I'm like, oh, that's dope. I like this. And this guy does cool pictures, like that Live Fast Rider or something like that I think he's out of Georgia. He has that gray sick ass one or a red one. I can't remember. There's too many of them. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that shit was cool, and I've always, it's bringing us together because we have this hub of that he kind of shows us the. And the other thing, like, I wanted to bring it up because I haven't really talked about it. A little bit over a week ago, we did a Facebook troll takeover on the damn.
Do you really want to talk about that?
I do want to talk about it because I was
trying to sweep that under the rug. Like, I didn't really have much to do with it. I'm like, oh, Jace is bored today. Okay. I guess I'll try and tune in, but like, motherfucker, I got work to do. I don't have time.
I got nothing done that day.
Clearly.
So,
because I do know what went down.
So this is what bothered me. So I got on that page and I knew all of you guys were on it. So my first post was, and it was a joke, and anybody that knows me knows it's a joke. I said, performance baggers are gay, changed my mind.
Right.
Instantly, dude. Fucking hell yeah brothers trying to be in our fucking world. You're gay. What do you ride? Probably a Sportster. I just immediately, just before I could even put LOL, just kidding, or anything like that, there was like 10 hate comments. And then I saw one dude said, you guys are dumb. You don't know who the fucking dude is.
Right.
And then I got banned.
Those are the dudes we don't want to be friends with.
Yeah.
Those are like the... Well, you said it. Hell yeah, brothers. So that's who that is.
Then I found out that I went on our little chat on the Instagram, and I found out that Steve is a moderator.
Right.
So Steve adds me back in
because he's an influencer.
He's an influencer. Yeah.
Correct.
So he's a moderator and he brings me back in. Now, mind you, I already found out there's another dude that was like giving me screenshots of what's going on in the thing while I wasn't in there. Mm-hmm. And so I found out who the guy was that banned me that runs the page. Right. So I messaged him and said, hey, man, I didn't meant no disrespect. I was just making a joke. A lot of my friends are on that page, blah, blah, blah. And the dude responded with, I don't care.
Okay.
So that...
All right. That's the tone. Here we go.
So
let's do this.
So as I got back on and started talking more shit, I was like, oh, the more people that were chiming in were dudes with ape hangers that were misunderstanding what performance baggers is. So I felt like, no, you're not going to fuck up my love child that I have with all my homies in this world by considering a performance bagger is just a big motor bike with ape hangers. No, you're not fucking in the club, dude. You need to scram with that shit, you know?
I usually try to live like, if you don't have, like your mom always said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I try to live that way, especially on Facebook. Because of the old people and the guy, the moderator that told you I don't care. He's just the old motherfucker. He's got correct me if I'm wrong. Does he have an 03 anniversary paint job?
03 anniversary street glide with nothing performance.
So dude think he thinks he's got something special. He's got another thing coming. And you're never going to change that dude's mind. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Why he runs that page or started that page, fuck, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. But he now feels entitled enough to say, fuck you, you're deleted. And then he deletes Steve and then Daniel and then this
Everybody.
guy. Like a lot of these really important dudes. And by the way, since we're here talking about it, I commented on there and I took a screenshot because after I commented, I got the boot too.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like stress out about getting the boot or whatever. But this is what I put. I said, these dudes are like, oh, you're doing awesome. This is an awesome page. Thanks. It's been a shitty day. I don't want a lifestyles page. I wanted a tech page. You seen that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then he said, a bunch of kids were trolling the page. They're tweeners that live with mom and dad's money thinking they're important. I'm like, right. And at that point, I'm like, and I don't think so, dude. So my response in a respectful way, like, I'm not going to be like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like, I'm not ready to throw down digitally. Like, like I'll throw down if
this is a digital war.
Right. Like I'll be in the background with my helmet ready to rock and roll. But, like I don't have time for that. So I said, hey, just so you know, at least 3 of those people that were banned have been at the forefront of performance baggers gaining popularity, and they are very successful, talented business owners who ride the hell out of their bikes across the country. They are constantly setting new standards that y'all are just trying to keep up with. And then I got booted. So, like, I come in, that was pretty respectful.
Yeah, it was just informative.
Right.
It was tech.
Yeah, dude, like, I'm not going to be like, fuck you, bitch, because I know that's not going to get me anywhere. Yeah. So I just try to straight up tell this dude, look, you may think you're King Ding-a-ling, but you ain't.
Yeah.
And I still got kicked out. And since then, My life has been great.
Nothing. I've gained nor lost anything in my life. But like I said, I became a social justice warrior because I wanted, like I said, I've invested a lot of my life into this little thing, this performance bagger thing, with you, with Steve, with Daniel, with not even just the people that are on baggers, like everybody that rides performance-based bikes.
Right.
It's all like one big fucking group of people, right?
Right, yeah, totally.
And you don't, like, that's what performance baggers is. It's the fucking dudes even the dudes that are putting fucking bags on these Softails and ripping those bitches. It's the mentality, the mindset, like you were saying about severed ties, and that's what this is to me.
It is. It's really the same thing. When you talk, you're the only person I've ever heard that has talked about tribalism. That's a funny word to bring into it, but it is true. It's a very tribalistic thing, and I think since you went through the big wheel bagger thing, as much as people could talk shit about that, it was merely a stepping stone. In the same context, I've never owned a big wheel bagger. I've built plenty of them. I've ridden them. I know what the fuck they are about. You're not fooling me, but I know that anything is rideable. Yeah. I've had the choppers with no front brakes. I've ridden the big wheel baggers with 30s and air ride and blah, 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 blah. I'm not like the most well-known motorcycle dude, but like I've ridden a little bit of everything. I know you can ride them. That ain't what I'm questioning. Yeah. What I'm questioning is, what's the point of owning this fucking motorcycle if it's just going to sit in the garage? Like, you need to get this thing out and do something with it. That's why Harley made this bike. If you're going to make modifications to a bike that limit the fun or the comfort, what's the fucking point? I did that for 15 years on mini trucks and old cars. Maybe not so much old cars, but sort of. Like, I should have been focusing on maybe putting a fuel-injected motor in this whole car so I could drive it. But instead, I was putting a fucking $5,000 interior in it and $5,000 worth of white walls and a fully metal flaked fucking roof with lace and panels and all that shit. Like, if you're going to do it, like, if you own it, why don't you use it? Well, I'm fucking guilty on all accounts of that. Look at the car sitting behind us right now. That car's been sitting for a year. And even if I wouldn't have fallen in love with motorcycles, I don't know. I get in this funk with old cars where I think motorcycles ruined it for me. I think that watching friends get hit or people die on their motorcycles because of ignorant people on their phones, not paying attention, whatever, that same mindset, it's true, it exists. That same mindset applies to this car. If I park this motherfucker somewhere and somebody T-bones me, or I'm driving and I get T-boned, or it's parked and it gets ran into, do you know how easy it is to fix or replace and get it back to what it was? It's almost impossible. That fucking car, I'm gonna sound really stupid here because I have to do math and shit, but like, that car is 70, like it's roughly 70 years old, okay? That's an old fucking car, dude. Where are you gonna find a fender for that car? Oh, well, hop on Facebook. Sorry, dude. It don't work that way. Not on a car that old. And that turns into a whole different lifestyle of finding those parts and emailing that one old fucking guy. Like Chris Moose. That podcast with Chris Moose.
Talked about the guy.
Also a homie. When I listen to Chris's podcast, that hit me so hard because that was me to a T. I live that life. The same thing that Chris does. And I've done the same thing. I've bought the cars from that same guy. Not literally the same guy, but like the same story from another guy that has the same story. And it gets to be exhausting. You know, it's like, this is too much effort and it's not worth it. For the amount of fun I'm having, it's not worth it. Where I could buy a bone stock bike, and even though a bone stock bike sucks, I'll still have a blast on it compared to what I've been doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that The bike aspect is just, it's kind of quicker. It's instant gratification. You know what I mean? Like, it's way more.
Yeah, there is no denying that.
It's a lot faster. You can, from conception to reality is way quicker than like that car behind you that's probably taking years to build, assemble, and do all this stuff. And and so my thing is, like, now we got these two nice ass bikes, and we're doing all these things on them and hanging out with all these people, and now our friend circle is literally like states. And
It's growing.
Like,
it's picking up.
and like I said, what my main goal is like, I want, it's not fair to say, like, I don't have the authority to say this, but I think that what really is beautiful about what we're doing, or what we're trying to do, or what we have been doing, is that it's not really about the bikes as much as it's about the type of dude that's riding the bikes that make up performance baggers.
Yep. Look, we don't have to do a podcast right now.
Yeah.
You still got a place on my couch.
Yeah.
I will be honored to have you on my couch. End of story.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that says it right there.
Yeah. So it's like, it's fun. And I like the fact, like, like I said, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but it was awesome riding my first performance bagger to Daytona, hanging out with Jeremy from Lucky Strike and Steve from Hawkeye Customs, and basically like Googling over whatever the fuck that word is, over
I think
Jason's
oogling
over Jeremy's paint job he did on the Softail for Steve. Like, these dudes are on some beautiful bikes, and I'm just nerding out. Meanwhile, both of them are looking at my Road Glide with T-bars on it going,
right,
that looks kind of fun. And now those dudes have the bikes they have, and they're fucking doing exactly what you're supposed to do on the bike, and riding those bitches across country.
Yeah, dude, like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago at SEMA, we did a podcast at SEMA.
Yeah, last year.
That was last year. Fuck, I'm getting old. Okay. Last year at SEMA, we did a podcast. That was the first year I officially shook hands and met Jeremy from Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
Now, did I know who he was? Absolutely. Yeah. I've been following his stuff forever. But I met him. He was not the dude I perceived, usually how it goes. He kind of kept in touch, and I was like honored by that, It's like, fuck yeah, man. You're super talented and you're super cool. Daytona shows up, and I'm like, hey man, you can swing by the booth if you want. Him and Steve and Ben roll up to the booth, and dude, Monty and I spent the whole rally with Steve and Jeremy and Ben, and we had a fucking blast with those guys. It was so much fun. They're like, you couldn't ask for better guys to hang out with. And then you dive into the paint aspect, and it's like, look at what Jeremy does. Look at his style. Look at, like, he's nothing like what you do. He's nothing like what the shit that me and Spring will do.
Yeah.
But, like, there's no threat of, like, business. There's no, like, competition. All we want is to be homies, and we want nothing but the best for each other.
Exactly.
And it's like, Jeremy, you're successful and you're a fucking threat because you're fucking talented.
Yeah.
But good on you. I hope you fucking kill it.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset about
He's
that.
one of the dudes that 100% keep me on my toes. Like,
hell yeah, dude. Like, that's what it's all about.
So him and Poland, and I'm so fucking stoked that Poland's got a bagger now, and he's kind of falling into the same thing that we're on.
I think he's coming to Tennessee next month.
For real?
Keep talking shit, motherfucker.
So I'm so stoked. I know he just had a baby too, or some shit like that. Yeah.
We're getting closer.
Yeah.
Me and Steve Chamberlain, we got some prospects out there. We're peer pressuring.
Yeah.
Last night, Poland felt the fucking heat at HPI Bike Night last night in person. You know what it's like when it's in person, you can't back away from that. So I feel like that was more effective. And then we had a good conversation today.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, man, Poland, same thing. Like, that dude is just...
Yeah, well, I feel like, like with Poland, I would say, like, people ask me all the time what my favorite painters are. Right. And it's usually, it's Poland is definitely one of my big influences because I'm such a fan of his style. And it's weird because I know him and he knows me, and it's like, I wonder if like when he sees me looking at his jobs, if he thinks I'm, you know what I mean, copying it. Nothing bad or anything, but just, you know, I like some of the things he does, so I've implemented it into my personal style, and, you know, but Jeremy, the same thing. Like, I've always loved Jeremy. Like, as far as a striper, if I'm just talking about his pinstripe designs, one of my favorite styles of pinstriping. Right. You know what I mean? And then other than that, like, another one of my favorite painters is Darren Wenzel, who
I love that dude. He's so
cool too. He's so fucking talented.
See, that's another like small world thing. Me and Darren, not that we're
he's an old school Cadillac guy.
Yeah, not that we're like homie.
He's a Cadillac, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not like homie, but like acquaintances. Like a very respectful handshake, like, hey brother, how are you doing? Because of the Cadillacs. And that goes back to the fucking John Jackson photo days. I bought a fucking banner. I bought a banner from John Jackson in Texas at a truck show, and it was a photo of Darren Wenzel's Cadillac. And this was in fucking 2009, dude.
That's crazy.
Like, it's that small of a world.
Yeah.
And it just takes that. Maybe that's why we appreciate this whole performance fucking thing as much as we do. Like, it takes that much of all this shit to like finally make it come together. Like, you finally feel like you have that place. You have these dudes, and like, this is it. Like, we finally got it. Like, these are the dudes.
What's really like I'm stoked about is where this goes in 10 years. You know, where does like all of us becoming homies, all of us kind of in the same kind of fields.
Pan America Highway, Enduros.
There you go.
I'm in. Let's go.
Sign me up.
In. Hey, Chris, like I told you about Chris, he got me into this shit. That's Chris's idea, and I am fucking down. Him and I have a goal to do that. We're going to ride to Alaska someday, and we're going to go to like the fucking Baltic Sea. We're doing it. Why? I don't know, but I guess just to say that we did it.
Yeah.
I'm
down.
Yeah, I'm in, dude. And why not? Like, what else am I going to do with my time? What's an enduro at this point? An enduro bike you pick up for 10 G's if you have to. Yeah. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's switch it up. Let's keep things interesting.
I know that eventually I'll be on pretty much an adventure bike.
And that's what I meant was adventure more than enduro. Yeah. Like not straight dirt bike.
I know that I'm going to end up going that route, but I'm right now I'm just really having fun with what we have. And I feel like, I was talking with this about bare knuckle today, and is it we're kind of at the age where, and in the industry, and at the age where we are the guys calling. I don't want to say it that way. I don't want to say arrogant or sound bad, but right now we're the people that are going to set the trends for the next generation, if you will. Like, even though like there's still the Rick Fairlesses, there's still like the Corey and the Zach Nesses, and there's the Hoffmans, which I would kind of wrap him up with us.
Hoffman is with us, but wouldn't you say that a lot of these old school dudes, they're all stuck in their same ways. They're not embracing the future. Yeah. Just because you choose to anodize a part doesn't mean you're embracing the future. It just means you're trying to keep up with the trends to make the money. Yeah. So, and that's not a shot at any company, but there's a bunch of companies doing that. It's all about being different. It's a different fucking trend. It's no longer the chopper. It's not the FXR. It's not the big wheel bagger. It's not the Softail Custom. This is a different type of bike. It has a certain kind of look.
It's got a little bit of everything in it.
It does, and it's going to usually appeal to a certain demographic, age-wise. So be it. We are the fucking future. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Yeah. Fuck, man, you're almost 40, and I'm 5 years away from it. So we are the future. That's the truth.
So when you get into that realization and feeling like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. I need to start looking at, this industry and how I want to leave it for the next generation, right? And I want it to be with people who fell back in love with riding.
Right? And that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah. Not that I fell back in love with it, but the idea of motorcycles in general falling back. Because we're so jaded by the big wheel thing. Yeah. We have done so much of it that I listen to your stories of riding big wheels across, to California back. And I don't like roll my eyes at what you say, but it's like, you're the only one then, because fucking.
Well, I mean,
you and Cody.
There were some other people that did it too that inspired me to do it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't respected.
You guys were young, dumb kids, man. Like younger, dumber. So the guys that are doing the big wheel bagger thing, that shit costs serious money. They're not interested in that.
Yeah.
They'd rather put it in the trailer. Well, okay. Well, look at our bikes. They cost serious money. We're doing the damn thing, but we're not pissed when we get a rock chip. Like, we might hurt a little bit when we get a rock chip.
It's like, fuck.
But we move on from it because it's part of the experience. It's part of why the fuck you own a motorcycle in the first place. They're not for sitting.
Yeah.
End of story. You will never change my mind on that. And that's coming from a guy who came from the polar opposite in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's because of performance baggers. 100%. It's fucking cool, man.
It's fun, man.
I don't know what else to say about it. It's like, we could get into all the demographics of it, and some of it matters, some of it doesn't. But when you got like this core group of guys that want nothing more than to just get out and ride together and have fun, what more does a guy need in life?
You know, and like I said, man, I would say that you're Road King, especially in, you know, your last version of it was still badass, but this one, like, you went above and beyond, and I would say it's probably the first performance bagger to be built to that level in our scene. So like, when in 20 years, if we ever make any kind of mark, that bike could, in my opinion, would be somewhat historic in the sense of it was one of the first ones to pave the way of going to that level. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it could. I'd be lying if I didn't say that wasn't my goal, but like I've always like, it's more about the patience. It pays off in the end. So it's more of a quality, not quantity type thing. And for me, I wanted to prove a point. Like, okay, here you go, guys. You can throw all the parts in the world at it, and you can finish out every last detail. And it could go on the cover of a magazine if they still existed.
Yeah.
But I am still going to ride this bike, and I'm going to show y'all this is why we're doing this. Yeah. And while I will admit this year's been crazy and I haven't got to do the road tripping that I've really loved to, I have put about 4,000 miles on it so far. And there's been a couple hiccups along the way, mostly just due to custom parts. But that motherfucker is dialed. There's not another bike in the world that performs better than that bike. It's so fucking fun. And it's light, and it's nimble, and it's fast, and it's always on tap. It's always there. And I don't really know how to top it from here. I honestly think that the next build, you're going to love it. It's probably going to be an Indian, dude. I think I'm going to do a Challenger.
Fuck off.
Here's where I'm at. I don't want to spend the money on stage 2s and tires and suspension and brakes and exhaust. I don't want to invest all that just to have a mediocre bike. You're about to find that out when you hop on that bike with the 131 and you feel that power. You're going to step up the power, right? But if you threw the brakes and the lightweight and all that at the bike, you would feel the difference. Mm-hmm. Now, I know why you don't do that, and I'm on your team with that. The Challenger is everything I just talked about, but it's bone stock. That's why I like it. It may look horrible. You can fucking bite your lip as much as you want. Say what you want.
You're still rocking ape hangers.
I understand that, and I know there may be no way around that. However, when there is a will, there is a way. We will figure it out when we cross that fucking bridge. You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about right now. Yeah. And we just did a paint job this summer on one. I
saw that one.
And it's fucking gorgeous. It's cool. All you do
I've had 2 people reach out to me and ask me to paint a Challenger. And it's hard because I feel like someone is pranking me.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
I do. Yep. Okay. I feel like somebody's pranking me because I told Adam Sandoval that, when he came on the podcast last time.
Didn't he get a Challenger?
Yeah. And so he said, somebody hit me up and goes, hey, I was listening, I love your podcast, man. I really like, just asking, I'm like, man, it's real hard to give someone an honest answer when you're not trying to be a dick like I can be on a podcast. So on the podcast, I'm like, fuck, no, I don't want to pay your gas bike. But when someone calls me, hey, man, I got a Challenger. I think your paint works really nice. I'd love to have you on. It's like, fuck, this is not a comfortable place to be right now. You got to figure out a way to say like no.
Yeah.
I usually just I was like, here's the deal. I'm all booked out for the year. It's probably.
We decided to not push that, and we went outside of the comfort zone. Mm-hmm. We said, "Fucking A, man, let's do it." Like I met this dude, Steve. His name's Steve Novak, and he's out of Florida. He's a. Here's the catch, and you probably don't know this. Have you met this dude?
I don't think so.
Okay. This dude is like, if Steve's listening, I apologize, but mid 40s, early 50s. All mm-hmm. right. He's got a CVO Street Glide. Mm-hmm. Like, hell yeah, brother, Street Glide. Okay. It's a twin cam, but it's like a 16. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's got a Jim's 131, BST wheels. Damn. Olean's suspension, front and rear, inverted front end from Kevin mm-hmm. at Big Bear Choppers. This motherfucker gets down, and this dude rides his bike the same way that I would ride my bike. So he came and see me at Daytona this year, and he was super cool, and he walked up, and like I didn't have a clue who he was. Who the fuck are you? You don't look like someone I would associate with.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm Steve, nice to meet you. We shook hands. I'm like, holy fuck. Okay, man. Pleasure to meet you. Your bike's really bitching. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go grab it. So he brings it up. And he's like, yeah, I was thinking about having some pinstriping done and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, don't do that. You don't want to do that to this bike. This is the wrong bike for that. And he goes, well, I just bought an Indian Challenger. I'd like to have it painted. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I like the Challengers. Let's do it, Well, this is February.
Yeah.
Okay, these bikes are brand fucking new.
Yeah, he's like one of the other 5 people that bought one
exactly. Of those. So fast forward to July, he gets a hold of us. He's like, hey, I want to drop the bike off. I'm going to give you 6 weeks. Y'all do your thing, but I want you to paint it the colors of my CVO Street Glide. And I'm like, oh, you got to make it look like a Harley to justify it.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, come on, dude, you don't need to do that shit. But we got to the point where we're like, okay, it's your bike. Fair enough. We stuck with the plan. We made it happen. Dude, that bike turned out so sick. Mm-hmm. And it's a stock bike with a paint job.
Yeah.
It's got some handlebars and exhaust. And that's pretty much it. And it looks,
I feel
for
like
a Challenger,
yeah.
It looks as fantastic as it can.
I feel like the bike had so much of a hype coming out, mm-hmm. but hasn't really made a big splash.
Well, there's been a lot of, just like the M8 stuff, there's been a lot of electronic problems.
Oh, for real?
Not that the M8 had electronic problems.
The oil pump issue.
But it had problems.
Yeah.
The Challenger is facing a lot of electronic problems. Yeah. They're having some funky shit going down. And if you follow the groups and just, like I usually roll, stay in the corner and just shut the fuck up. You pay attention. It's almost enough to scare you out of buying one.
For real?
For sure, dude. It's like, all right, I'm going to give these dudes till 2021. Let them work their shit out.
Yeah. I guess I'm like your favorite word, I'm very tribalistic, and I'm a brand dude. Not a brand dude, but like I stick with the things that have been comfortable. You know what I mean?
You say you could do an adventure bike.
Yeah.
What would that be if you had to choose one?
It would have to be a BMW.
Okay. It's not very tribalistic of you.
Well, the thing is that, like,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But if I was buying another bike to be like what my Harley is, then there's no way I could pick that. You know what I mean? It's like I would never. I know that Buells are cool to a lot of people, but I just don't care for them.
Okay.
So I would never want to ride a Buell or have that if I wanted to go back to sport bikes.
Right. So to replace a Road Glide, you don't want to do it with the Challenger.
Yeah, I don't want to get the fucking stand in.
Couldn't. Like I honestly do agree with you in that aspect. I really do. But after riding the Challenger, it's so fast and it stops so good and rides so good for a stock bike that you could pay $22,000 for out the door. Fuck, man, that's a no-brainer.
Well, people used to buy Reeboks in the 90s too.
Yeah.
They weren't quite as expensive as the...
Not Michael Jordan, though.
Yeah, the Jordans or the Pippins or the Penny Hardaways or the Nikes or the King Griffey Jr.'s, or all these other badass shoes that are out there.
I was a Grant
Hill guy?
I was a Grant Hill guy.
So you had a Fila?
Yeah, Fila. There you go.
Yeah, but that's soccer.
Forever I love Atlanta. Sorry.
But, you know, I don't know. I mean, people can get what the fuck they want, but like I said, I just don't. I don't care. We had this exact same conversation today on Bare Knuckle Paul's podcast, because we were talking.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I told him, I was like, man, like there's just certain things about it that I like. Here's an analogy, and people are gonna hate that I'm gonna say this again on the very next podcast, but for our conversation's sake,
okay.
The things that I change on my Harley, I enjoy those purchases. It makes me feel like I made this thing better for me. If it was done out the gate, there's no way I can take this thing that everybody else has and throw another part on it to give me that same satisfaction that I get.
Even though 100,000 other people already did that?
To me, at that point, it's just me on the bike and how I feel while I'm riding it.
Doesn't matter about the rest of them.
No.
It's to suit you.
But if I bought a bike that was done, so, you know, Bare Knuckle Paul had a great analogy. He goes, my BMW, because he has a GS, he goes,
1600?
He has the all-out adventure one, the 7-gallon tank, everything. So he said that is the best Öhlins makes on that bike.
Okay.
I can't upgrade to anything else better than this. Mm-hmm. The brakes are some of the best brakes on the market. Like, this bike is done. Mm-hmm. I can add an exhaust.
Right.
That's about it.
Maybe shave a couple pounds, but that's pretty much it.
So, you know, like...
And does he love it?
Yeah, he loves the bike, but I mean, you gotta understand, like, I don't look at a BMW or an adventure bike as like, man, I want to make this personal to me. I look at that like that is a vessel for an experience.
But
you know what I mean?
But haven't you fallen in love with the ride, the experience of the ride?
Yeah, you would.
So it's a little bit more of who you are as a customizer, painter,
exactly,
versus a rider, a realistic rider, and you need to find a good balance between the two.
Yeah,
and that's where I like the Challenger, because it's not a Harley, and it does everything better than a Harley, stock for stock, dollar for dollar. If you're trying to be thrifty, it's a better bike. It just is.
Well, a good way to commit social suicide is to basically get an Indian Challenger. So,
fuck, that's a bold statement, but I'll listen. I'll hear you. You know, it's too early to tell. I have been kicking around something with Curtis Hoffman on a new carbon fiber style design. It might happen, maybe. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but it'll be dope. It'll be like, oh, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, bro. For T-bars.
Yeah, so if he decided to pull it off for me, I may pull the trigger on it. And I don't know that I want a Road Glide, though. You know?
I stuck with the Road Glide because that was my first bagger, mm-hmm. and I fell in love with it. And, you know, when I first got my first Road Glide in 2012, street glides or just the street glide fairing was the most common fairing bike on the road, right, when it comes to Harley, and they still kind of are.
But in 12, Road Glides were not fucking popular.
They became very popular. That's in 12 is the year that they had the best Sevo paint jobs ever.
Wouldn't you say they didn't get really popular till 15 when they came out brand new?
No, I feel like
style?
At least in Dallas, Road Glides were the hottest bike from about 2012 on.
Okay.
Up until 2012, until the big wheel thing really started to hit Texas, mm-hmm. It was definitely more of a street glide, electric glide kind of vibe out there.
Till the 15 Road Glide came out with the new style. Working at Springles, we had done one old style.
Yeah.
One. And we had done 100 street glides.
Yeah.
So it's surprising to hear that, like just depending on where you live, I suppose.
Yeah, different bikes for different areas.
Right, and which is absolutely a thing. But that one Road Glide we painted bright fucking yellow with
put some fucking checker flag on there too.
No, dude, it had True Fire, bright yellow with True Fire.
Yeah.
And dude, that bike, this dude was like 5'2".
Oh shit!
And this bike had like 150,000 miles on it. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna make fun of you. I fucking worship you.
Do it, man. Do it.
Get it, man. Like anytime one of those yellow vest guys passes you, you're like, fuck yeah, dude. You're who I want to be someday.
Yeah. You're doing this so right.
I just care about how I look right now, but like in 10 years, I'm going to be you.
Yeah. So on your, you did, on your motor upgrade, you did the leading edge kit. Is it the 128?
That one started as a 107.
Yeah.
So it's a 125.
125, that's right.
It's a little guy. Yep. When you do 107, you go 125. When you do 114, you go 129. 29. And so the 125 and the 129 is, it's nothing more than just a dick measuring contest for that one extra cubic inch. Essentially, they're going to be tuned and they're going to run the same as a 124 or a 128. They just look cooler. They're made in America and they're bitching.
Yeah, that, like I said, man, I'm creeping up on 40,000 miles on my bike. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that this winter was either going to be tearing it down, splitting the cases, having it built, or possibly buying this motor.
Or is it just because you got your ass handed to you by some fucking Softails?
That was part of it. That was kind of like the icing on the cake for the decision.
I did hear that episode. Now, I do subscribe to the Patreon. I didn't listen to the Patreon episode. Did you get into the details on that one?
No, not yet, because first off, we were drunk on that very drunk on that end of the podcast.
Moontuckies or whatever?
Montuckies. And at that point, we went down a rabbit hole of politics that I actually cut out because it was fucking nonsense. And then, we wrapped up the trip that we did, but we also talked about like where we wanted to go next year. Like we've done like 2 really big trips that are easily done in the 2-week period that we kind of have to do these trips. Now where? Like what's the next?
Alaska.
Well, we're actually looking more East Coast Canada.
Okay, let's go see Daniel.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
I might be on a Challenger, but I'm in. Let's go.
Man.
Hey, the whole point of another motorcycle is so that, see, it's my past creeping up on me. It's like, man, it's too fucking nice to ride it, but like it's all that I got, so I'm gonna ride it.
Yeah.
But then the COVID fucked everything this year. I haven't had a chance to ride it.
Yeah.
And then, fuck, man, I look so forward to riding with you today. And then last night we had puppies.
Yeah.
So, like, I haven't rode since Sturgis. I've been home for a month. Haven't rode because I've been fucking slaving on a bike for the next big event coming up. And there just hasn't been time to ride, dude. I'm slaving 10, 12-hour days. So, fucking finally, Jace and Aaron are coming to town. I'm going to ride with them on Saturday. Nope. Fucking puppies come at 3 in the morning. So that ruined it for me, and now I'm going to have to go ride tomorrow. I'm like, I'm going to follow you halfway to Chicago just so I can get some miles on the bike. Like, all right, have fun. Take care.
Cool. Man, it's I don't know, man. I think it's cool. Like, it's really weird how this country has got to this point, but I feel like myself and a lot of people, Steve, like he just did that crazy ass back end of Sturgis trip.
That was a big one. That was impressive.
Yeah, and it's weird because I'm like, hey bro, let's go back to New York right now. I haven't been yet.
Oh, right.
So I'm texting him like, dude, let's go, come on.
How does he feel about that?
He's avoiding my text messages right now.
He's reluctant. Yeah. He's scared, man. Yeah, that was dude, that's a life changer.
Yeah.
Think about that. The mental that comes with that of getting to the same highway in the same spot.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, like I said, it's a weird one, but I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like, I've always wanted to go to the Indian Larry block party. I still haven't completely committed to it yet, but I want to do it. I've always wanted to go. I've never, ever thought I would ever be even remotely close to being able to do it because it's so close to Sturgis, and it's literally like 1,800 or 1,900 miles from my house, right?
Yeah.
So now that I'm going to literally be in Michigan, 700 miles away, it's a long days, but it's a day's ride.
Yep.
I'm like, man, and I'm reaching out to a lot of people trying to see if there's other places I can kind of crash and shit. And, if everything kind of lines up, man, I would hate myself not for doing it.
Yeah.
Not being this close to be able to experience that block party and see New York, even though it's probably not safe right now, you know?
Yeah. I wish I could
I'm going to stop in Kenosha or whatever the fuck.
Oh, well, don't expect much out of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop by and take a picture with the sign and be like,
right.
What's here?
I don't know anybody in New York specifically.
I know quite a few people. I think I'll be okay. I just haven't.
You were talking about doing a trip this summer up there.
So I just haven't completely reached out to everybody yet. I'm you know, because I don't want to. I'm still trying to make myself commit to it mentally before I put, you know, things down with people, and then they start expecting me, and plus, you know, it's like I'm trying to do another podcast with HPI, and you know, I've already had to.
That would cut some time out of your trip.
Change basically. I can catch on the way home.
True.
Yeah. So that was the plan, because if I'm in New York, if I get to New York, I'm going to be chilling pretty much all Saturday. Meaning, what I mean by chill is like I'm not doing 150, 200, 300 miles. It's more of a local kind of rip around, kind of like today was.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, even though I did like 90 something miles today.
On the way home, you could almost come back through the same way you came up.
So that's what I was planning on doing.
If you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're trying to see some new parts of the country.
But I've seen everything lower.
Okay.
So my thing was to go to New York, maybe get a podcast or two, and then on the way home, just beeline it straight from New York to Indianapolis. Either find somewhere to crash or, you know, get a hotel if I have to.
So
and then
you would be in New York next weekend.
Next Saturday, and then Sunday morning I would wake up and leave and head back this way.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then so my thing was like I really want to sit down with Jimmy again, because first off, when we first did the podcast, they weren't really fully going into the exhaust production.
Sure.
They weren't in the new building. Plus the bike got stolen later on in the podcast. We have so much shit to go over and talk about, and and their growth as a company. And
there's been a lot of change with that place.
Yeah,
they have an amazingly loyal support system, and I mean, I run their products too, you know. It's just because he's so fucking down to earth and cool, and they know what the fuck they're doing. So that would be, I would look forward to hearing that one. So if I can get back and do that podcast, and then from there I don't know, I haven't reached out to him, but I want to do one with Rusty, the stunt rider from in Memphis. And then I already talked with King Tony from Rebels Den. I think we're going to do another one with him on the way home. Yeah, it's been a little bit since Tony's been on. Yeah, when we did Tony's, man, it was late at night. He was crashing, and me and my buddy Mark were just going off on some other shit. It wasn't really a good podcast of like who King Tony is and Rebels Den and the Busted Knuckle Stunt Tour. He's got a whole new spot down there too. Dude, that shop is dope. I was in there. It's so cool. It's so nice. You stop by. Yeah. His place is so cool. It's set up, and the dirt track that he's got right there, fuck, man, that place is like paradise. So this almost made me want to move there and work for the dude. There's some things going on that I think that is kind of like a byproduct of all the stuff that we're all doing, right? And there's starting to be these little pockets of like our type of shit popping up in these different cities, whether it's you know, Arkansas with my machinist and Tony, or HPI kind of becoming. They've always been around, but a long time ago, we just thought of them as like, it's just a part in a catalog, and now there's a face, and there's for lack of a better term, there's a lifestyle associated to these dudes doing this shit. And then you got what Steve's doing up there, you got what you guys are doing down here with Marshall, Paul, even, you know what I mean? Like there's like these little cities that are starting to have these little cliques of this style of bike, and it's awesome to me to see and be like, man, like we need to come fuck with all the Little Rock dudes, and then we need to rip up to St. Louis and fuck with all these guys, and I like that vibe, man. We did that for Tony's anniversary party. There was a bunch of us from here and Chris from Chicago. We rode down, and you know, we made the day out of it to go down there. We ended up, instead of just taking the highway, we took the back roads. Like, let's do what looks fun. We found one of the most fun roads we've ever been on, ever. And it was like straight roller coaster, like up. Where's it at? It was Highway 19, and it was in between. I forget exactly what town, but it dropped you into Alton, Missouri, or Alton, Arkansas. It was one of those two. But it was like, imagine that, like, and this would be a testament to the Olean suspension on my bike. I was 2 up with a tour pack, and I was ripping up those hills doing 120 mile an hour uphill, okay? And you get to the top, and I don't know that I did leave the ground, but it sure as shit felt like it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you crest, you come straight down again. And as soon as you make it down, well, buddy, you're going as fast as you want to be going. I mean, you can do 140, 150 if you want to, but as soon as you get down to the bottom, it swoops back up again. And so it does this the whole fucking way.
That's crazy.
And as soon as you hit that at the bottom, that little dip right there, the G-force feeling your Harley with that suspension, like the reason we do this, feeling that bike hug to the ground, like bite into the ground.
Yeah.
It was at that moment where I'm like, this is why I spent the money. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. There's probably not a sport bike that could keep up with me right now, and I'm 2 up. Like, that's how I felt in my brain. I don't know if that's true. Yeah. But goddamn, you should not be doing that on a Harley.
It's for sure. Yeah.
And I had a buddy my buddy Ryan Craig was riding Springle Street Glide, and it's kind of the one I was talking about earlier.
The dirt track one.
It's kind of a dinosaur. It's a 07,
old frame.
Yeah, stock motor. And he was behind us, and he was not keeping up, like not even close.
Those are wobble machines, though.
They are. They're not good. But yeah, I mean so just heading that one idea, let's go to Tony's for the Rebels Den. And I really think the reason we went was to hang out with Justin.
Yeah.
I think that was the one reason we went. Let's go see my machinist, and then let's go just hit some back roads. Mm-hmm. We wanted, here it was. We wanted to do Talamina.
Yeah.
Because we didn't make the camp out. Mm-hmm. So we rode down, we found our favorite highway ever. Then we went to Tony's, met Craig. He fucking drifted his semi on a tiny little dirt track.
Yeah.
Impressive as shit, because you've seen it. And had a killer time. And then rode out to Talamina the next day. Loved that. Got a huge chip in my fairing thanks to the rocks on the road, which I'm not even going to get that started. And then we ended up at the top of Mount Magazine in Fort Smith, like south of Fort Smith. Stayed at this amazing lodge. And then we did Pig Trail, Eureka Springs, blah, 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 blah. And it was like a 3-day trip. And it was fucking awesome.
Everything you could want to do.
Dude, it was so much fun.
Party with the homies, ride some of the best rides in the Midwest.
Exactly. And that was all within, I want to say that was like 1,400 miles.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that this year, we're going to announce the camp out dates here probably in the next month, but I think I'm going to push it into May just a hair instead of late April, just for weather purposes on, people coming from up north, because there's been a couple times where
might catch a little snow or
they'll
something.
catch a snowstorm or get stuck in rain and shit like that. So we're going to try to push it, but the thing is, like, the further south you get, the hotter it gets, and you don't want to camp in 90-degree weather. But I'm really hoping that this year, with all this shit we've been creating, that it really does become the thing where everybody comes down to and really solidifies all these friendships. And the thing is, man, there's just like you said, it's not so much just a camp out. Like the Rebels Den was the reason, like we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. The reason is to go here. And then all the things that helped me solidify the fact that I want to go was, I want to go see Justin. We want to hit some cool roads. We need a trip. That's what I want the camp out to be. The camp out is just the reason to get there.
Right.
However you get there from whatever part of the country you're coming to, that's the experience that you're going to really, really hold on to and dig, because maybe you did it solo, and that's going to, when you get to that camp out, after that solo trip, 1,000 miles or even 200 miles, maybe not 200 miles, but you're going to be like, fuck, man, like, hell yeah, I did it. That's amazing,
No, I do. I agree with that. And looking at the growth of your camp out, I think that you just hit the nail on the head with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to continue to be that.
And
fuck, man, we did an Instagram live story last year, and
that was this year.
Fuck, this year.
Yeah, that was right after COVID.
COVID has everything so fucked up right now. We did that in April.
Yeah.
And my bike was like super close, but not enough to the point where I would trust it all the way to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And dude, it broke my heart. Like, I wanted to be there so bad. And that's all that I had worked towards, was being there. and I couldn't make it. So you're correct that you're just giving like the location is just one reason. Okay, we at least got this. Let's at least do that, and then whatever takes us from there, cool. And that's what's cool about your camp out too, is because we could choose to take that one road down that we took down on the way to Rebels Den, or we could blast straight interstate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I seen that you were in Little Rock at noon the other day, or like lunchtime.
Yesterday? Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, dude, he ain't gonna be here till super late. Well, I was basing that on the fact that it took us like 9 hours to get to Little Rock.
Yeah.
Because we took 2-lane back road highways that went up and down.
Dude, I got so lucky. So after, I took the fast like 67 straight up to St. Louis.
And that's the one that we chose to not take.
Exactly.
We took all those back roads. So that the road we love, you went right next to it.
Yeah. So what happened was
on the way home.
I could hit it on the way home.
There you go, dude.
So I got real fucking lucky because the road that I got is 2 lanes on each side, and some chick in a Kia was fucking hauling, dude. And it's so many hills that having her hauling ass, giving her about 6, 7, 8 car lengths, I was able to chill back there, maintain about 90 miles an hour in the 60 that we were doing.
Perfect.
And she was going to be the one to get caught.
Right.
Because I could see her taillights crest every time. And I was and we mobbed together like that for probably 100 miles, because I think from Poplar Bluff, all the way till the highway that we were on hit the interstate, the one that goes from like St. Louis down to Memphis, I guess, or some shit.
Yep, 55, yeah.
Right there, on her ass, and then got on the highway and bam. But
cool.
But this trip right now is obviously to go get the motor put in at the Harley, but it's also with the way the world's been, we haven't really been able to bring. I wouldn't say I haven't been able to bring bigger shops or big shops onto the podcast this year.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because of COVID and not a lot of things going on. So I was like, this whole thing is more of a work trip to get content for these listeners and everybody out there to hear from, especially this part of the country, which I've never been to.
Right.
And, do the motor, give people was it a good deal? Was it not? Did it work out? Blah, blah, blah. Because I don't know how much, like the rest of the year, I don't know if I'll be able to do any more big trips or go on the road. I might have to hunker down and get caught up on things,
some obligations at home.
So this was kind of like a last hurrah to kind of get out, get the podcast recorded, finally sit down with guys like you and Bare Knuckle Paul, who we've been dancing around for like the last year and a half. Not to mention, DA Performance and Jason Vanderwoo, who we were supposed to do a podcast together.
Yeah, and just Bare Knuckle Paul, Jason, and DA. Those are going to be some killer podcasts. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like churching myself up. Those 3, those are going to be great podcasts. Those are amazing dudes. Those dudes have amazing experience. They've been around forever, and they know what the hell they're talking about. Yeah. So it's going to be really cool to see that perspective. And then on top of that, the whole thing with you're doing with the 131 is these performance dudes, they don't really give a shit about that 131. They're like, fuck that, I'll just do a 128 with heads and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool to feel and hear your experience with that.
Yeah.
To watch you, even watch you progress from that 114 with a cam to big boy cubic inch.
Yeah.
And you kind of danced around that subject of getting your ass kicked, by the way, which I love to hear about, but
So we were in Rock Springs.
Colorado?
No, Rock Springs, Wyoming. Okay. And we all got fucked up at this like bar that was next door to the hotel. And, we were sent, it was one of those hotels where it's like a 2-floor, but all the doors are on the outside. So there was a balcony on the outside. And we were just sitting out there drinking the whiskey and the beer that the bar sold us. And that we took home. Yep. And we were out there and, our buddy Larry, his little Fat Bob. The orange one. It's fucking a 114 built. Like it's a 107 to 114 built motor. That's what
that was last year. Yep.
So it fucking runs.
Yeah, it's fast.
It really does. And so just natural, like, I know that my shit's not faster than his, especially my bike's way heavier, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And all I got is a cam. You know what I mean? I ain't fucking with that stroked motor, basically, wherever the fuck that would be. But for the sake of having a good time talking shit, which you got to stay up on your shit talking game, you know what I mean? Every once in a while, you got to just talk a little shit. We were just talking shit. I was telling Larry I was going to whoop his ass the next day, and then Cody jumped in. I was like, I'm going to whoop your ass too, and blah, blah, blah. And then we all were in some fucking part of New Mexico on the north side of the White Sands Missile Basin, whatever the fuck it is, and there's just nothing out there, and we just hit it. And Cody's bike just pulled mine. Like, it pulled mine to the point where it felt uncomfortable. And so, you know, I wasn't really tripping on it, but you know.
Oh, really?
No, I wasn't really tripping on it, but like, it just for the fun of carrying on the shit talking that I started. It's fun to play the narrative of like, all right, you beat me, I'm gonna go get a 131, motherfucker.
Right, as you're heading north, you get a big ass motor.
But so the biggest reason why is, like I was saying earlier though, is that my motor has got a lot of miles on it, and I do a lot of trips, and sometimes trips are spontaneous like this one.
Right, you would like to know how fast and powerful and torquey this out of the box motor can be, but still be reliable.
Yeah.
And fuck yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I think you're really taking one for the team on
exactly.
on
and
doing that.
That's exactly the point. So everybody's telling me that they have, it's better. You're going to get bigger numbers, and I'm not here to argue that. I know that the 124 SNS top end with this, and this is going to put out good numbers. But what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to say, I'm telling people for sure that if you do a top end, and most likely, if you really want it to be reliable, you need to do a bottom end. You know, so that's, if you do the top end right, like, you know, like what you've done, maybe not going full HPI on everything and stuff like that, but just, let's just say like jugs and the cam chest. I think the SNS 124 kit, like the entire kit, is like almost $3,000 on drag, right? That's just the top end. So you do the crank, that's another $1,500 plus the labor to machine and split the cases, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You end up having roughly $7,000 ish in this motor for the 124 with the crank. Now, let's just retail it out. I go buy this fucking 131. It's not going to be, we're talking horsepower numbers difference of, you know, 5, 6, 7, depending on exhaust and things like that. I go buy this 131. It's $6,100, which most dealerships are going to cut you a deal on it. Some of them will even install it for free for that motor, like, or that money we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And I have an entire another motor sitting on the ground next to it.
That's a great selling point. If you ever decided that this one wasn't quite enough for out of the box, if you don't blow it up, granted, then you got this other one you could build to whatever the hell you want to do with it. And that would be kind of your golden child.
Exactly.
At that point.
Or
so
say it's perfect.
Solid point.
Say it's perfect. Say the motor's great.
Right.
I now have a motor that's worth at least $2,500.
I was going to say
sell.
like 2 Gs probably.
Yeah.
Easily 2 Gs.
Yeah.
And so then you subtract that from what you're invested, and it's like, well, I just subtracted 40,000 miles and went up 20 cubic inches.
Exactly.
So I do agree with that. I'm curious to see how much you love it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm curious too, man.
But I would also rather have you hop on a bike like mine, or hop on a bike with an SNS 124 or 128 on it, after the experience you're about to gain, and then hop on some other builds and then feel it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where the opinion would really come.
So another big reason, we were kind of touched on this when I first got here today, I also want to basically not have to do a grudge box transmission and a crazy clutch to fucking, you know what I mean? I want it to be, I want to see if this thing can be just a motor swap and a computer and exhaust and whatever, or does it need to be a motor swap, chain drive, and all these other things to kind of coincide with it? And that's kind of where it, to me, it's like I'm trying to find the way to keep this thing as the most reliable, but have some fun power to play with, you know?
Yeah.
I'm probably sitting at like 105, maybe 107 horsepower now.
Right.
Probably, maybe.
Yeah.
And so this other motor is supposed to be putting out 124 horsepower.
I was going to say 130 tops on both sides.
Yeah.
Which
and apparently the cam in it is detuned. So apparently I was talking with the people from Woods Cams, and just putting their cam in that motor, the 131, puts it almost at 140 something horsepower.
So Woods Cam will step it up, but it's going to have to be tuned properly.
For sure.
Not with the Screaming Eagle tuner.
So I'm not running, I'm thundermax. That was my stipulation with dealing with them.
Right, yeah.
Is that,
so that would help you out for sure.
Yeah.
I think if I was you, I would go into it expecting, you should expect 130.
Yeah.
And then anything else above, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Anything below, okay, that's a little concerning, just for cubic inch sizes.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed what that does for a daily rider type motorcycle. I mean, that's going to make it a whole new bike.
It is. And like I said, it's one of those deals. It's like, I don't want it to be so powerful that it takes the reliability and the, I don't know the other word I'm looking for I just don't want it to get to a point where I'm chasing horsepower numbers now.
No, you're right about that. A lot of that comes down, from what I've learned, a lot of that comes down to the compression ratio that you go with. You don't want to step a lot more over like 11-1 because you're getting into the drag racing type mentality there. So as far as like the grudge box statement and the clutch statement, you are going to want to clutch upgrade a little bit just to hold that power. But as far as the transmission goes, what I've found is it comes from how big of an asshole you ride like. So if you ride like a stunt rider,
I don't do burnouts.
You're going to blow second gear. That's all there is to it. And your compensator at the same time. If you use the power when you need to use it, but not in like a burnout, like dropping the clutch kind of way, you're going to be just fine. And that's where the belt comes in too. For like a long distance rider, that's where the belt's fine. You can use the power when you need it, but if you're not riding like a fucking asshole every time you take off from the street light,
I'm not lining up on a line and dropping the clutch. That's not. I don't.
That's the difference between our age group, 35 to 40, versus anything down. Usually, you know what I'm saying. Like Monty, he's young as hell, 24 years old. He's broken 2 belts and blew up a compensator on a stock 107 with a cam. That's it. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you just dropping the clutch every chance you take off?
Yeah.
He's like, well, yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, you should do that. You're 24, you know?
Every once in a while, like the only fucking adolescent thing I really do on the bike is every once in a while when you're feeling good and you're already rolling, then you kind of drop the clutch and just kind of let it break loose while you're kind of going, but never from a stop.
I thought you were going to be like, yeah, I stand up on the pegs.
No, I do that all the time just so I can stretch my legs. But
I'm just fucking.
But yeah, no, it's I think that, I started looking through YouTube, finding opinions about the crate motor. There's a million opinions about the swap, like doing the top end, right? Nothing on the crate. Right, except for like a couple dudes like rode one from a dealership, but it's that helmet vlog shit, which I don't really like that stuff.
Right.
I want to just like the answers that I'm looking for are the answers that I hope to give people on the podcast.
Sure.
Like, I put it in there, I broke it in, I rode it, I left Milwaukee with a brand new motor, rode it to New York, broke it in on that trip, had fun in New York, rode it then to HPI, which is 700 miles away, and then did a podcast. Probably would have a better understanding of whether I like the motor or not by that time.
For sure.
And then from there, I'm riding in another, HPI is like just at 1,000. It's like a little bit less than 1,000 home.
All the way back home.
And then bam, like, I feel like this, honestly, for being real, like Harley should be fucking paying me to do this shit. Because they did shit marketing on it.
I agree. For as big of a move as that is, like, the all new 131, like that does kind of trump everything.
Yeah,
they really didn't do much.
They didn't do shit for marketing. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck.
But it's also like COVID stuff though too. So
yeah, but they could pay Jason Momoa to go fucking make little videos of kids playing with tanks and shit.
Is that the Aquaman guy?
Yeah.
You got a man crush on that guy?
No, I don't. He's literally the face of Harley now. He's fucking Jack from Jack in a Box for Harley.
Gotcha. Hey, I need a pee break.
We're about good. 2 hours and 52 minutes.
Are you cutting me off?
You got something else to say?
Yeah, but I got to pee first.
Okay, buddy.
Okay. Need some AC in here.
You don't need it that bad. You just need a heater, which you have.
I do. It keeps me warm.
It doesn't seem like it gets blazing hot up here compared to what it's like in Texas.
It gets hot though.
For real?
It does, dude. Like the humidity, I'm still not used to it from where I grew up. So, turn it back on.
Yeah, it's been on.
Oh, nice.
I'll just like trim it.
That's cute. Well, that was a long pee.
It wasn't too bad.
Okay. Anyways, no, I didn't have like a whole lot more to talk about.
What you got?
Nothing really.
You just wanted it to end on your terms?
I'm just trying to control the situation.
No, that's all good. But yeah, like I said, man, this whole trip is, my birthday's at the end of this month, so this is kind of like this is something I wanted to do, and I next year I know that I'm going to do some more bike trips and travel. But we were talking at dinner, like I really need to spend a little bit of time with the wife and things that aren't like super motorcycle related or whatever. And it's a balancing act of a lot of different roles that men play or we are playing in our lives. You know what I'm saying? So,
yep.
I'm just trying to hit these areas that I've never been to and have been talking about going to ever since the day I started this podcast. And there's no reason why not do it now.
What do you think so far?
Of
like
what?
It so far? Like being the route
I like going to places that I've never been. Like I'm a very visual, like I'm just scanning everything and taking it all in.
Yep.
And sometimes I wish I had the time to stop and go to the arch and take a picture instead of just riding by and getting a selfie with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, the same thing, like I really won't have a chance to do anything in Chicago. Like from here to Chicago, 4 hours, literally trying to get there and be set up to do podcasts by noon.
Right.
Do 2 podcasts on the road to Milwaukee tomorrow night in a hotel room.
Yep.
And then 3 podcasts a day, 1 at 10, 1 at 1, 1 at 4 for the next 2 days after that.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle.
It's all work.
You're going to be pushing it.
But I'm not complaining, man, because like I said, I get to hang out with guys like you and Paul and DA and all these people, and I feel like I gain a lot by talking to people and hearing their perspectives and listen to them, how they deal with their struggles. And I'm not there yet, but I think I'm gonna be a pretty fucking smart dude one day.
Yeah, you're gonna be the smartest motherfucker you ever met.
Yeah,
and that's exactly who I am. Also, the nicest asshole you've ever met.
Yeah.
So, disclaimer: you're not missing a whole lot in Chicago, other than like there's some cool shit downtown, but fuck, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, don't get too upset about that. Chicago is turned into a rough fucking area. So.
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really super, it's kind of weird because, like, I'm so used to going to, like, LA and NorCal and Phoenix and like, everything kind of west. So it doesn't weird me out, but there's something about the grittiness of kind of the eastern cities that feels like it's very unfamiliar to me because I've never been to New York. I've never been to Chicago. Never been to St. Louis till today.
Right.
And then the one time I went to Indianapolis, my fucking bike got stolen. So it's like.
Right. I mean, I could show you around St. Louis for like 3 days and take you to all of the like hidden treasures that it does offer.
Yeah.
And you would dig them. You would love it. But once we're done with that, that's pretty much it.
That's any town. I mean, you come to Dallas, I'll show you some cool shit, but
yeah,
it's a one-nighter.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. But there's not much of a scene around here, with like performance bikes. We don't have.
Yeah, but it's coming. It's like when guys like you guys do more shit. And I know this is hard because you work a lot, so you don't really have time to go organize bike nights and rides and shit like that. But it's part of it, man. It's coming. There's dudes here that want to do this shit. Somebody just needs to. You need like a Dyna Crew page up here or some shit.
Yeah. I'll tell you, after listening to like the Dyna Crew, like Houston and Dallas and all that stuff, it was like, man, these dudes really have like a point to prove about like the bikes that they ride. And I kind of tried to relate that to like where we live, and it's like, fuck, dude, forget getting a bunch of dynas together. We'll just take whatever we could get, like just bitching bikes.
Yeah.
Get them together. It's really not that many. You know, it's very.
Well, there's not that many in Dallas either. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it started off with like 6 of us, and now there's probably maybe 20 or 30 of us.
Okay.
Maybe 50 that those outlanders that we don't really know much about or doesn't come out. But
I think what's really been holding St. Louis together is the stunt guys.
Sit Down Steve. And
all of the Street Fighter dudes and the stunt riders. I didn't grow up with that stuff. So when I got here, I've seen it and I learned it like a little bit. And that shit is a trip.
This here, St. Louis is one of the, from my, not experience, but knowledge, knowing people, it's one of the hubs in America for stunning.
It is.
And apparently this is a city that they have a no chase policy. So you get to fucking ride like you, because Dallas is the same way. We have a no chase policy. So we have a strong.
They did the same thing on the Illinois side here too, where they're not going to chase you. So, and Missouri actually just went to a no helmet law.
For real?
Yeah, which is interesting because Illinois is helmet no matter what. Missouri, Illinois is no helmet. Missouri is helmet no matter what.
Yeah.
So since I live 15 minutes away, I'm probably going to be in Missouri quite a bit today. I wear a full face no matter what, but there are a lot of hell yeah brothers that are like, fuck helmets, like check out my flat bill flip up, you know?
Yeah.
Those dudes have to plan ahead and they have to pack a helmet so that as soon as they hit the border, they put a helmet on. Yeah. And Missouri just recently went to, like within like a couple of weeks here, they just went to, and this is a trip, no helmet as long as you're 26 and you can prove that you have health coverage.
Or is it life insurance?
It's fucking, yeah, dude. Like, that's a bold statement. That's like almost, I don't want to get political, but that's like almost, that's pushing the limits a little bit.
Yeah. Well, in Texas, we have you don't have to wear a helmet, but it is like an age thing, and you have to have obviously a motorcycle license, and you got to have like an insurance policy. Like insurance policy based on like a life insurance policy. Right.
I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to almost die but not die, we don't want to pay for your bills.
Yeah.
And I get that. I respect that. But it's a hell of a change for this area. So it's definitely rocking this.
It's one of those things that, you know, like, because I wish I knew how to do it, but I would love to head on, even though I know there's people already doing it, I would love to make lane splitting legal in Texas for a million reasons. But, you know, there's too many quote unquote hell yeah brothers that aren't going to do the trade off for a helmet for lane splitting. Right.
I was almost hoping we would talk about that. And I don't really have a lot to offer on it, but it's amazing how many, like when we're riding the bikes that we ride, it's amazing how we can pass the hell yeah brothers and how many of them are pissed off at you about it. And then it's like, well, maybe lane splitting, maybe it is a bad idea for this area.
Yeah.
But we don't, like, we got our traffic on the St. Louis side, but I don't imagine it to be what the Dallas traffic is.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Houston traffic, and I couldn't imagine the Austin traffic. So
you have the heat of Texas that we have. You have, every city has roads under construction, so there's backups everywhere. And the lane splitting is not so much like, I wouldn't even say, I wish we could just filter, meaning that if the traffic is less than 20 miles an hour, then you can split. Not like, you know, in California, like those dudes are doing 70 between cars because their whole state is used to it.
Right.
The cars get out of the way.
Yeah, they're very...
it's illegal for the cars to impede you.
Yeah, they're very courteous about it.
So now it would take time to retrain the brain of that.
I don't think you'd ever get there with the drivers out there.
Yeah,
I don't think you would get there. We were lane splitting in California last winter. It was amazing how many. It was cool to see the people like move for you.
Yeah,
but it was also amazing once you got used to that. Oh well, they're gonna move. It was amazing how many people still didn't move for you, and it got frustrating to the point where we ended up riding shoulders a lot.
Yeah,
and I knew it was illegal as fuck, but I was like, fuck, I'm a tourist. Who cares, you know? So we were on the shoulder quite a bit, but that was the first opportunity I've had to lane split.
So my first opportunity to lane split in California was on a 26-inch wheel road glide.
Right.
And that was fun.
I couldn't imagine. We were on Softail lowriders, M8 bikes, and there was nothing to it. But on a bagger, totally different story.
Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of things that could come of it, man. Like Texas is a pretty good sized motorcycle state. And I really do think, I have a theory that the lane splitting would really boost the economy of motorcycling in a lot of different areas, from repair shops to bigger companies moving their stuff there, because when people can use that as a commuter to get to work,
sure,
you know, more people would ride just for the simple fact of saving money, time, and space to get to work and from, especially in the urban areas.
Right. When you have an area that the weather allows you to do that, it makes perfect sense.
And we have all year riding in Dallas.
Right. And we don't here. So that to me is a no-brainer.
Yeah. So like when we get bad weather, it's kind of like a thunderstorm. It's only there for a day or two.
Sure.
Like it's very rare that we have like more than 4 or 5 days of like 30 and below weather. It's like it's a cold front that comes through, and then 2 or 3 days later it's back up to 60 or 70 degrees.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's why every year when we have our anniversary party every year, we've been riding.
Right.
You know, Steve's come down the last 2 years and rode. You know, we go riding, do bike meets and parties and all outside. Now, don't get me wrong, it gets chilly at night, but we're still ripping motorcycles during the day.
Right.
You know?
But he had to fly in and ride someone else's bike.
Yeah. So he flew in the first time and he rode one of mine that I had extra, and then last year he flew into Mark's in Austin and rode his Softail up to Dallas and partied with us.
Yeah, that's kind of the difference with where I'm at. You know, it's just we still have enough of a winter to keep it, like, keeps you grounded. But
does it snow here a lot?
You know, we get more ice storms than anything. Not a lot of snow. Like that Tundra that I drive, big motherfucker, lifted on 37s. I put it in 4-wheel drive one time last year. And I needed it. I definitely needed it. But it was one time. So we're right on that cusp. But I almost feel like that turns into like a global warming conversation. And we are definitely not doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Not tonight. So
yeah, it's a tough one, man. But I don't know. I'm literally just like looking at all the different things and how to grow it in a way that I can, you know?
Yeah. Well, what you talked about earlier, which we don't have to discuss on the podcast, but like getting dudes together.
Yeah.
Maybe putting on our own thing. Yeah. I'm not trying to, like, sorry for saying that out loud, but maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah.
That could be the turn. That could be the next step. You know what I'm saying? And it just takes a few good dudes that you can depend on. They're solid dudes, and you can make it happen. And you know that you got all the support in the world. So
and that's kind of the thing.
Make it happen.
It's one of those things I want to make happen, but at the same time, like, it's kind of what the camp out's been, you know?
True, but it wouldn't be wrong to have more than one camp out.
Well, originally the plan with the camp out was to have a branch out of different ones, but still branded as a Fast Life camp out in different areas of the country. But, you know, when Steve started his, and then now Craig started his, it's the same reason if someone came to Dallas and wanted to host a show and they're not from Dallas. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing in my town trying to host a fucking bike event in my town?
Since you are the Fast Life, you're allowed to put your name on it.
Yeah.
So since you're talking about like two of the most solid dudes that we know. Yeah. I see no problem with it.
I don't. That's what I'm saying.
As long as you're good with it.
So when they started it, I was like, you know what? There's no point in me using my name or trying to do that. It's not really about my name. I just use my name to help get people to come. Right. That was never the point was never to like turn it into some kind of business, which it's not. It's literally.
Yeah. It's funny that there's not like an end goal.
Yeah.
You know, like we all want the same thing, but we don't know exactly what it is that we want. That is a weird one.
Yeah.
It really is. But ultimately, it's just going to come down to the dudes. And hopefully for anybody that listens to this type of podcast, it would be the goal would be just to tell people we are dudes that like cool shit and we like riding, and that's what we want to do. We don't care about the fucking stereotypes.
Yeah.
We don't care about none of that. We're just a bunch of random motherfuckers. Like, if you wanted to turn Fast Life into Fast Life RC riding club, or like, it doesn't need it to be an MC, you know, it could just be like this group of fucking nerds that just hang out together. That's cool. In our own minds, that's cool. And you know what? It's more than a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, like I said, if it, you know, with what these guys are doing, I'm stoked, and I'm glad to see, because I mean, my camp out idea came from John Jessup, you know, and he did one up there, and he said it didn't really get the kind of response that he wanted, but it inspired me to do mine, and where we did it, and then Steve came, he got inspired to do his, and that's what these dudes are kind of like ambassadors for their area, so it's good that Steve does his.
Right,
you know
but like John is like California. It doesn't matter if he's northern. He's California.
Yeah,
California is
not for long, baby. He's coming to Tennessee.
True, and I'm super proud of that.
Yeah,
because that is truly where I'm trying to live.
Over there towards like Maryville and Knoxville.
100%.
Yeah.
Why not, dude? Like the people,
some of the best part of the country.
Fucking A, man. I'm trying to live in Tennessee, but due to life and family and the wife and all that, we can't go to Tennessee quite yet. It is in the cards for the future. And John is that dude to make it happen. But when you're talking about California guys, you know, like, just say what you want, man. We've always been that. I don't know about you, but living in St. Louis, living in North Dakota, it's always been like, we don't give a fuck how they do it in California, right? There's kind of a lot of truth to that. Like, we do maybe pick up on some of the trends, and I will absolutely admit to that.
Yeah.
But we put our own spin on things, and we do it the way that we want to do it. And the Cali dudes, there's a lot of good dudes out there, but they can't really even grasp what it's like to be in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing. Like, it's such a bigger scale. So I think it's cool to say, hey, let's take the Fast Life and let's turn it into something else. Yeah. Like, it's your business. You're the painter. You're the dude. But if you're trying to branch out a little bit, you got all the support in the world.
Yeah.
You really do.
People, I don't want to be at a point where, like this, when you start, like my goal is literally to build up everybody around me, you know, but in doing that, I still am building up myself.
Right.
You know, and people look, or it feels like sometimes people don't want to see me succeed. You know what I mean? It's like, and they feel like everything they do that they support that I do is helping that success get better, right? Even though what I'm trying to do with the camp out's going to get bigger, right? It's going to make me and the brand look better. But realistically, the core of it is for you to make these friends, to be like Steve was when Steve came to the camp out.
It's to make what you want of it.
Yeah, it's to help you.
And so that's like listening to the last Houston podcast with the Dyna dudes. They're like on top of like the whole partying aspect of it, which was funny. They're like, oh, well, why don't you bring it closer to Texas? And it's like, you said it. You're like, the whole point is to get the fuck out of Texas and get all these people together.
Yeah.
And it does that.
Yeah.
And that works. That's a strength in numbers kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can bring your Dyna if you want. You can bring your bagger. You can bring your fucking whatever you're riding. As long as you're the kind of dude that wants to be cool and kick it and we have the same goal in mind, that's all that we care about.
Yeah.
A lot of the talk on your podcast is the future, you know?
One day.
So uncertain.
Yeah.
God, who knows, man? We still have so many greats that are still here. And it's really hard to say, like, what the future really does hold. But you talk about, well, what about Harley? They're not marketing to the right generation and blah, blah, blah. You know what? It doesn't matter what Harley does. There's always going to be Harleys. There's a bazillion out there. They already created that. It really is what we do with it. And not to put us on a high horse, it could be anybody from any state, but as soon as those boomers are gone and they're dead and they're not going to Sturgis, who's going to continue that?
Yeah.
And like, I appreciate your standpoint on Sturgis of, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you want to be. Sturgis, you have to be there. If you ride motorcycles, you got to be at Sturgis. End of story, no questions. You got to be there. Not a lot of people talk like that. You know, people are like, well, the hotels are so expensive this year and I can't find an Airbnb. Where I'll be the first to admit, I'm in Sturgis. I've been there for the last 6 years and I've been working out there, but I see all that going on too. Mm-hmm. And if you want to keep like the real, I hate saying biker, but like the old biker mentality alive, it is us. It's not the Hell Yeah Brothers. Those dudes will be gone before you know it.
Yeah.
As soon as the big wheels are fully faded out, there's not a lot left, dude. Like, I'm seeing like 20-year-olds roll up on trikes at rallies.
What?
Yes. And you're like, and I'm not talking a Spider or a slingshot. I'm talking like a freewheeler, a tri-glide, 20, 30-year-olds. And I'm like, what are you riding that for? And they're like, oh, this thing's fucking sweet. I like this thing, you know? And it's like, well, you don't have fucking feet or what?
Yeah.
Like, why are you riding this? Like, this is what you retire on because you can't physically hold a fucking bagger up anymore. And these people, these younger dudes, they're like, whoa.
They're misguided.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk a lot about that. I listen to all the podcasts, mm-hmm. So I'm on the up and up, and nobody really seems to have this figured out just yet.
Yeah.
And maybe this is it, dude. Maybe this is the turning point of like, if you can't make it what you want to make it, then maybe
Well, you know, like once again, I said this on the podcast with Paul earlier. You know, a friend of mine was talking about how a lot of the dudes from Born Free were bummed because they needed Born Free to help promote their business. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why don't they just go to Sturgis? And, you know, well, the Sturgis isn't their crowd. It's like, Sturgis is ours to do whatever we want with it and turn it into whatever scene we want it to be.
Right.
It's just that right now we're outnumbered by the boomers and the people that like all those other type of bikes. So eventually, if the way I said it is like, look, or we can create safe spaces for all these people to have their own little areas where they feel unprejudiced and biased about things, and they can do all their bikes. It's like Born Free, Giddy Up, those little smaller shows, I fucking love them. They are dope as hell and they need to exist. But Sturgis is Sturgis, and you need to go to that. If you care about the motorcycle industry, you care about what it means to be on a bike and be in that fucking beautiful place, you need to be there. You need to support that. You need to bring your shit there.
It's super
and show
true.
The world.
It is. It's super true. You know, and I dealing with general public in Sturgis. It's definitely not the crowd I want to be dealing with.
Yeah.
But
one day it'll be our crowd.
Right. But you respect that.
Yeah.
You know, you just, even the douchiest of the douchiest, you still learn to accept it. And you're like, you know what? Even though at least you're still here.
Yeah.
So you're still supporting the cause, and you're going to all the events, and you're hanging out on Main Street, and even more importantly, coronavirus, dude. Think about that. Like, what a time to be alive, 2020. All these people showed up. They're bikers.
Yeah.
You know? And they didn't break records, but they made an impressive impact.
Yeah.
480,000, 500,000 people. It's a big number of people for Sturgis for COVID. So proof is right there. Yeah. It is very well. It is very alive. And I really feel like that's proof enough for us to say, let's do whatever the fuck we want with all of this shit.
Yeah.
You know, who cares about the egos? Who cares about let's just do what we want. And who knows what's going to happen. You know,
last year I felt like there was a handful of us running around with T-bars on our baggers. And then this year, I felt like they were fucking everywhere.
They are, absolutely.
You know, like, and it's like the same thing when the first time I went to Sturgis, you know, you would see a few big wheel baggers. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, they were like everywhere.
And then the next year, they're all like the bolt-on
necks.
Like, not just bolt-on, but like the fucking stereotypical, like, cheesiest 26-inch wheel you can get, and like the true bolt-on crowd.
Yeah.
Right? And then same with the T-bars. As soon as I start picking up on T-bars, on baggers, that was this year in Sturgis, dude. Yeah. I took a picture of every bagger that came in the booth with T-bars. I probably got 20 photos.
Yeah.
For real. And I know that's only 20
but that's
out of that many people, but that is not common. They're all there just to get pinstriping.
Yeah.
So you really crunch those numbers, and it's like,
well,
you compare it to last year, and it has blown up. The shit is coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. And there's a reason for that. It's not just because it looks cool. Like, T-bars, like, they look the part, but like, they're not, like, they look cool, but like, they're not like amazing looking. They're just fucking handlebars.
Yeah.
It's what they do to the bike. And people are starting to realize that the word is getting out there. Mm-hmm. You're an Oleans guy. I'm an Oleans guy. Read the posts on Facebook about Legends, right? Like, Legends, you and I probably feel the same way about Legends. Yeah, it's all right. It's cool. It's not quite Oleans, but it's cool.
That's a good start.
It's a great start. But you take a dude on a stock bagger, you put, Revo A's on the whole bike, that's a totally different motorcycle. And it's going to handle phenomenal. I have to deal with these customers like that. They don't understand that. They're like, well, my buddy told me air ride's amazing. And I'm like, fuck, here we go. Dude, even Legends would be like fucking phenomenal suspension for you.
Yeah.
So I had a customer in the shop this week. This dude's like 2011 Street Glide, or fucking Electra Glide.
Yeah.
Shocker! It's a yellow motorcycle, yellow and black, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, man, I want an interfering, I want a 21, I want Legend suspension, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You want air ride, don't you? And he's like, no, I want a good suspension. I'm like, fuck yeah, brother.
Hell like, yeah, bro.
It's finally getting there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's catching up. I don't mean to say that we're the ones that are causing it. I think we got maybe a part of it, but once you can preach that gospel in a legit way, like not like a lying, like the big wheel world.
Yeah.
In a legit way, like, this will make your bike better. They are all for that shit.
Yeah.
And so even if we brought the Hell Yeah Brothers on board, come on with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just motorcycles. Let's get out of the big wheel thing and let's move forward.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the T-bar style on these road glides, to me, it's not a trend to me. It's literally the most comfortable way I've ever ridden a bike. So
Absolutely.
For me, like, if everybody and their mom started to do it, I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, fuck, everybody's doing it now, I'm doing something else. I don't give a shit. Everybody ties their shoes a certain way because it fucking works. And now I'm rocking these bars and running mid controls because that shit fucking works.
You're gonna have those, you're gonna have those fundamentals, like those must-haves. Yeah. Handlebars, seat, dare I say exhaust, but handlebars and seat, man.
Yeah.
And that's that one subject that we are not gonna go down of do what works for you and do your homework and all that shit. But but it's true. It's amazing the kind of impact you can make just doing those two things. So, yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited for the future, and we keep meeting more people like-minded like us, and I really think that is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's just create those bonds, and no matter where it takes us, that's all that matters. Even if, I don't know, I hate to say chasing trends, but
even if we get swallowed in the popularity and never really get the
mainstream
respect,
the mainstream will pick up. It will.
Yeah.
It's the king of the baggers in October
that none of us are part of or even got reached out to.
Here it comes. It's a month away, and dare I say, none of us give a fuck.
Yeah.
I give a fuck about the fact that there's 2 Indian Challengers in it.
Oh, fuck off with that shit, dude.
But for real, they're all baggers. They're in Laguna Seca, and we're all like, well, I mean, yeah, that's rad, but it's just the million corporations doing their thing. Like, that ain't us. So let's just keep on focusing on what we're doing. Campouts are a good way to do that. And who knows, man? It could be a pretty cool future.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Like I said, I'm good either way. If it becomes popular, if it doesn't, you know, I'm past the point of feeling like I got to do something trendy to be cool. Even though I definitely get influenced by trends for sure.
Right.
But you know, I'm at a point now where I like my bike. You know, I can make it look wilder. You know, I can afford to. I can physically do it. But
you really don't have to prove yourself.
Yeah, it's like, man, I don't. Doing airbrushing my whole bike, doing all this crazy shit, like it doesn't, at this point, like I'm good. I don't have to advertise like that, you know. Absolutely. Like I just want to enjoy it.
It's a super good feeling.
Yeah.
And for the guys, I'm right there with you, man. And for the guys that are still coming up, like, yeah, you got a lot to prove for yourselves, and it doesn't have to be a paint job, but it all boils down to the personality. Mm-hmm. It really does. You know, I hope to touch subject on the time that I seen your first bagger. It was a 17 M8 bike, and I seen it at Born Free, and I seen it at a bar in Huntington Beach, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the Fast Life. I'm trying to meet this dude. I've wanted to meet this dude for a while now. Where's this dude at? So I sent you a message, and I never talked to you. Mm-hmm. And you responded to me, and you said, oh shit, dude, I sold that bike. That's not me.
Yeah.
It was my bike, but I sold it.
That was you to hit me up?
Yeah, dude. And I'm like,
I remember that.
Fuck, dude. I didn't ride out. I flew to California to go to Born Free and then do a PCH trip.
So that was 2018 when that was when I was getting my bike stolen at HPI. Right then.
But I seen your bike.
Yeah.
And remember, I had already built that one bike like 3 years ago. So like the wheels have been spinning a lot, but I haven't found anybody. It was just me and Springle in St. Louis. Nobody else. Yeah. Like nobody to really relate to, you know?
Yeah.
And I seen that bike in California and I'm like, fuck yeah, like this is what it's all about. I need to meet this dude. And it wasn't even you know, because you already sold the motherfucker.
Yeah. I hate myself for selling that bike, but at that time I wasn't quite ready to fully dive into the bike the way I did on the FXR that I also had. Plus, I still had my FXR at the time when I built that bike. And I loved riding the FXR, and I loved the fact that there was definitely very rarely any other bike out there that looked like that.
True.
You know, so it was a very different thing. And I got lucky when I got to go to Daytona for the first time when my buddy rolled my bagger and I rode the FXR. But man, I wanted to do suspension. I wanted to do motor work. I only had that bike for less than 8 months.
Right.
And together, the way it looked, I only had it for like 4 months.
Right. That's a very short time.
Yeah.
It may sound decent, but that's a very short time.
You know, once again, I said it on the day's podcast with Bare Knuckle Paul. I sold that bike, made some decent money. And then I was in limbo. I was literally in a BMW dealership looking at a GS 1200 or thinking about going with the new Road Glide, another one, or at the time Pop's Garage had an RD FXRD, I think is what it for sale, full fairing FXRD for like $8,500. I had $8,500 cash, so I was like, fuck, I got 85 cash, so that means that I don't have another $100 for gas to get to fucking get to Atlanta and back. So I was looking at all these bikes, and then, you know, I didn't end up getting to go to Sturgis. And so it was right after they released the new Harleys, and they came out with the fucking spoiler, the lowers. And I was
the side fairings.
Fuck, that looks so good.
Game changer, for sure.
Literally made that purchase just because of those side things.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I guess all I'm trying to say is, like, I'm just one dude from St. Louis, and you made that kind of impact. I seen the bike at a bar in California, and I said, holy fuck, Fast Life Garage. And you didn't even own the motherfucker still. You had already sold the motherfucker. Yeah. So with that being said, there ain't nothing wrong with just, like, this is us. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Create it. And if that's where it's headed, then... Hell yeah, brother. Montucky.
Montucky.
Whatever that means. I don't really know. But
I was trying to see if they had it in the case there. That's why I was scanning the case.
Hell
there.
no, I never heard of nothing.
I'm gonna have to try the stag while I'm out here though.
Yeah, I tried to get you on that stag.
Dude, I had a rough night in Warrenton last night, bro. It was a good time, but it was rough.
Full disclaimer: I've never tried stag. I just know that it's popular.
Okay, yeah, it's a cool looking case and everything.
Hey, I'm drinking Crown Royal.
Actually, pretty good.
Ritz.
Crown Royal, green apple, or is it just apple?
Here we go with that refined, distinguished shit. Regal apple.
Regal. Oh,
Yeah, dog.
well, that was Sprite. It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's very good.
I like it.
Very smooth.
All right, man.
So-
We're at 3.5 now,
Okay, well, we made it quite a while.
so they can check you out on.
Yeah, man. My Instagram is Insta Havin Kyle, and probably some big things coming for next year, but maybe too soon to talk about it.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we're not at war with each other after November. You know,
That's not gonna happen. Why would that happen?
new president, people ain't gonna. No matter who wins.
Oh, I thought you meant you and me.
No. I'm talking about the country. Like we're gonna be trying to ride bikes, but
Okay, we're straight.
Yeah.
Fuck the country. I'm just trying to ride bikes. But more
buy American.
Right. But more importantly, I'm trying to I'm gonna probably launch something a little bigger. So for myself.
Yeah.
I'm looking towards the future. So
I think I know what it is, and I think you should.
yeah, man, it'll be rad. In fact, rad will probably be in the name of it, just because fucking why not?
Hell yeah.
That's who I am. So stay tuned on that. There might be a name change and like a full launch and trying to switch gears a little bit. But I look forward to the future, and I appreciate you.
Cool, man. I appreciate you doing it.
Very much.
Cool. All right, buddy.
Good talk, man.
Thank you, Kyle, for all the cool stories and the hospitality. Your family's awesome, and I appreciate it, buddy. If you guys want to support this podcast, there's a couple ways. First, you can support it by donating to our Patreon, which helps us bring on more guests and build the show quality. And that's at patreon.com/Fast Life Garage. Check it out. All it takes is $1 to $5, whatever you feel like doing. And monthly drafts from your account. Therefore, you continue to support this podcast, and it helps us do things. Also, check out my dude Dream Rides John on Instagram, teamdreamrides.com. Man, I'm fucking up my words today. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram at painthuffer.com, and FastLife20 for 10% off at checkout. Thundermax EFI, shoptmax.com, FastLife 10% off at checkout. Check it. Lexin Moto on Instagram and lexin-moto.com, and FastLife at checkout get you 15% off. Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram and simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com. Electric Lighting Co. on Instagram and NAMS CustomCycleProducts.com. Check them all out. Great sponsors, and always you can help support this podcast, as well as rating, reviewing, and all that other bullshit you can do on the apps that you actually listen to this podcast on. So all those type of things make this thing get more reach and more, seen more, and get to do more. And this trip that I just did going to Milwaukee and eventually New York was paid for by doing these podcasts with the sponsors, the Patreon. It helped pay for the gas. It helped pay for the lodging and the food and all the shit being gone from work. You know what I mean? So more support in those areas allows me to go out and get more of these bigger names on these podcasts. And maybe one day, if I'm lucky, fly motherfuckers here. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, if you like what I'm doing here, check it out. You can support it. If you don't, man, I'm going to try to be better. So anyway, thank you guys. We'll be back again next week with 2 more podcasts. Peace.